Don't hurt me.
Happening and it freaks me out.
Oh, it's stone gas, man.
Trusts anyone anymore.
We spent so much time indoors, hiding behind masks, afraid of everything 2020 could throw at us. It really shouldn't be a surprise that he got inside one of us.
You wasn't much different, Piz.
I remember someone live streaming with a stockpile of toilet paper.
Yeah, that's exactly why I delete my live streams.
I bet you wouldn't do this if I was B Junior.
This wouldn't even make the list of weird shit that happened on Coffee Time.
Jesus Christ, is no one gonna ask about the fucking Q-tips?
You're worried about Q-tips? You know Lauren's laying on the floor dead, right?
See, I was thinking 2020, the pandemic, it hides deep inside. Makes us do things we wouldn't normally do. I devised this little test. I don't think you'll appreciate being poked and prodded.
Yeah, honey, a guy I met on the internet is about to stick something inside me. I'll have to call you back. Yeah, I can pick up Brett.
Simón was human.
Who would have thought?
That makes you a murderer.
I thought you might say that. So where you been for most of this season, Monty? Hiding away? I think you're the one behind all this mayhem. Well, do you last?
Now that we know where 2020's been hiding, Piz, I would really appreciate it if I could not spend the rest of 2021 tied to this fucking couch!
All righty. What did you all think of that? My goodness. That was fun. R.I.P. Lauren. You know, we had to be sure. And, you know, he seemed like the obvious one. So we had to put him down. But, you know, oops, that's why pencils have erasers, you know. I do want to say, shout out to Nico. Thank you for the $5 super chat, sir. I'm still at work, but can't wait to join the fun while I polish my Blu-ray slipcovers. Very nice. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So yeah, that was fun. Lauren did a really good job editing that together, and everybody did a great job on their clips. Yeah, that was really cool. But hello and welcome to episode 10 of Region Free. I'm your old buddy Pizzell. Just want to welcome everybody to the show. Dave, what's up? Keith, hello. Jess Graham. Darren Hay, there's Dan Shine, Rick Plamondon, we got Joe Bob Tarhill, Richard Skorinky, Sean McManus, how are y'all doing tonight? Thank you, The Daily Ghost, for the $5 super chat. Region Free Nation, thank you. Very kind of you, sir. Do you want to mention our Patreon? We've got a lot of exclusive content over on our Patreon right now if you want to support the show. A lot of cool stuff over there, and we are going to be adding more in the very near future. Let me give some shout outs here to our current patrons: Big Crack Rock, Dan, Rick Plamondon, Jeff Overing, Jamie W, Cameron, Jess Graham, The Daily Ghost, James Welsh, Joshua Smith, Lee Gannon, Steak Sauce, Disco Demon, Kevin Smythe, Stone Gassman, and Captain Halloween. Thank you all for being patrons. So without further ado, let's get the ball rolling here. Joining me tonight, I have got Monty. How's it going, man?
Oh, I'm wonderful, Piz. It's nice to be back, man, after, being worked to death a lot.
There you go. Was going to save you for last, Monty. I figured you had 2020 in you, but,
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what?
Things happen, and you're in the clear, I guess, at least for now. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm happy it didn't go up my nose.
But good to have you back, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Piz.
Also with me tonight, I have got Jamie. What's going on, Jamie?
Not much. How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Good. Everybody seems to think I killed Lauren, but do we know who shot Lauren?
Actually, I guess we really don't know who put that bullet in Lauren.
I don't think we do.
I don't know.
It could have been me.
Yeah, never know.
Never know.
Let's just say afterwards I washed my hands in bleach, and so all that gunpowder residue, if there was any gunpowder residue, washed away. But yeah. Also with me tonight is the legendary B Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Like,
good.
Hey,
How's
how
things?
you doing?
How's things
doing great.
Cool. How's things down in Florida?
Oh, it's been good. We've, I guess, been lucky to avoid the Arctic freeze that some of you have enjoyed over the past couple of weeks. Wish I could say I'm sorry about that, but I've been quite comfortable. It did get down in the 30s a couple times, which for Florida is Alaskan weather.
That That is Arctic weather in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People probably have no
that was
idea
at
what-
night though, you know, so that was fine. It's been 50s during the daytime, and now we're headed back into summertime. Summertime's here again. I think by Sunday we'll be 90.
Oh
So-
my gosh.
Oh wow,
Yeah, man.
it's crazy.
Time for the return of swamp ass. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. Also with me tonight, back from the dead, Lauren. How's it going, Lauren? You're muted.
Why would that happen? So, how are you, Piz? I
Doing
had a
good.
joke lined up, but it's ruined now, so forget about it.
No,
Yeah.
darn.
No, I just want to point out that it's been a live stream of mine to make our audience watch us pick our noses. So I feel especially fulfilled today, and that I got all of you to participate in something absolutely frigging ridiculous.
You do know I hated doing that, right? I really
That's
hated doing
why you got the special treatment in the end.
Yeah.
that. It was good though.
Why did you ask people to send you their used Q-tips though?
Reference
Yeah.
materials.
Oh, reference materials. Okay.
It's important, you know. It's an ongoing epic, and we got to make sure that we have all the continuity materials in line for the high quality that my productions end up with. You know,
I'm a
Understandable.
little worried that Lauren is collecting DNA on us so he can clone us.
Yeah.
well, if you haven't noticed, we've all died several times at this point.
True.
So if we're not cloning, we're not going to get alien resurrection out of this crew. That's for sure.
Let's see. Dan says that Jason Bloom clearly put the hit out on poor Lauren. That's true. Or maybe it's
That's
Bloom,
reasonable.
maybe it's Bloom. Bloom is just wearing Lauren's face. Maybe that's it.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Why? I've seen Jason Bloom, and I got to tell you, he wouldn't choose to wear my face.
Oh goodness, but good to see you guys. It's been a couple of weeks, and yeah, always good to catch up and talk about some movies. Batting leadoff tonight, we have got the Professor B Movie Mike. What do you got for us, man?
Hey, what's up? Well, I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now the new trailer for the however many iterations of Mortal Kombat, the reboot of reboots that rebooted the reboot is dropped. Red Band trailer. Glad to see they're going with an R-rated certification and apparently a guarantee from the filmmakers that they pushed it as far as they possibly could. So that's promising. The trailer, unfortunately for me, suffers from some modern day cliches, music cues, character voiceovers, and just the way they kind of do things in modern trailers that do nothing for me. Introduction of a new character, Cole, which is supposed to be the audience's introduction to the world. We learn as he learns and all that kind of stuff, even though if you're an old bastard like me, you've been around since the beginning of the iteration of the Mortal Kombat series. I mean, when it dropped in 92, I was already 24. You know, so not really going to shock me with many details as far as the Mortal Kombat situation goes. 90. A lot of people have been like us old guys have been comparing it to the 95 movie. You know, the 95 movie was made under even stricter regulations than what they had to follow for this one. Because of a little history on the game, it started out as an idea. It was going to be a Universal Soldier adaptation with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they wanted to do the motion cap thing where they actually filmed him doing the moves, and it was, but they couldn't get the license to that. That fell through. Then they thought, well, let's do a blood sport fighting game since Street Fighter and all that kind of stuff is really big. Well, they couldn't get the license for that, but by then Street Fighter had made so much money that Midway was like, yeah, just go ahead and make a game. Just, do what you're going to do. So Mortal Kombat was birthed of that. But because of some of the ideas they had with the fatalities and the actual photorealistic people, created quite the hubbub. It was like the first exploitation video game, I guess is what they got. I don't know. There was probably something before that that would fit that description, but I don't know if Leisure Suit Larry counts. But anyway, I digress. So that because of the Mortal Kombat game and all the controversy, the ESRB was born, Electronic Software Ratings Board. And that was in 94. The movie came out in 95. So naturally it had to be a PG-13 because there was no way they were going to squeak out the fatalities at that time, considering all the controversy that the video games had drummed up by then. Although Mortal Kombat 2, when it was released, was the highest grossing opening of a video game ever up to that point, and it even beat out some of the summer movie blockbusters that were released. It actually made bank. I mean, we're talking about a $5 billion up till now $5 billion video game franchise. The first game is responsible for $54 million alone, and it kind of helped Genesis get one up on Super Nintendo during the time of the big console wars, the Coke Pepsi console wars. Genesis put out the uncut version with the code. Of course, you had to have the combat code. Nintendo was all about, oh hell no, we're all about Muppets and children and shit. We're not letting that slide. So they had sweat instead of blood. Well, they paid the price, learned their lesson, and then when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, they gave you the full. No offense. They gave you the full Monty. And, everybody loves the full Monty, right?
Oh, of course.
I'm suddenly not comfortable being under him in the grid.
you could be in danger, Lauren. Your headroom could get shallow there. All right. So anyway, here we are, many years later. He moves out of the way. Christian's in the danger zone. Uh-oh. Oh man! So here we are, all these years later, and the only thing I can say that's missing from is the music. That iconic music from the video game and the first movie. I was kind of hoping they would at least, reference that in some way or another, because that's kind of part of the charm. Because the first Mortal Kombat, it was never meant to be a super serious type thing. It was fun. It was clown shoes, but we knew that and we loved it. It was fun. Now that it seems like they're trying to take a super serious type turn with it, and I don't know if that's just the modern era and everything has to be explained and super serious. And I am interested in watching the film. I mean, at least the trailer did that for me. I mean, there's going to be fatalities. Kano looks like he's at least going to be comic relief, so there's some hope that there will be a sense of humor involved. I mean, I love Australian humor. It's fucking great. So at least with him involved, that looks pretty cool. But the introduction of a new character. We're down to Sonya. We got Jax, Cao Lang, or whatever his name is, and Liu Kang. And of course, Scorpion. They're going to do an origin on Scorpion to give him a little bit more of a backstory, which is cool because it looks like they're going more, legitimate with it. And of course, Sub-Zero. I thought I saw a better representation of Reptile. It looked kind of practical, but probably not. But at least it looked fake enough to be mistaken for practical. And you got Goro and Shang Tsung, and so it looks like lots of Easter eggs. You got Raiden, who looks like he's more close to the original John Carpenter, version of Raiden. So yeah, there's a lot there for me to be excited about as an old fan, and with all the TV shows and cartoons and video game sequels and stuff. I mean, how bad could it really be? I mean, I'm sure if you dig through the plethora of Mortal Kombat stuff, you're going to find something worse. It's just inevitable. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I thought it was decent. I wish the music would have been more upbeat, less of the droning voiceover. Super depressy, darkish. I mean, it's colors, it's light, it's music, it's fun. People, come on, let's have a good time with this. It's Mortal Kombat, but we didn't get that. But at least we got some glimmer of hope that maybe on the other end they'll give us something that we were never able to have before.
Right.
And I was kind of shocked looking at some of this stuff on the video game, it's still banned in some countries.
What?
The series was subject of a major video game controversy, several court cases largely related to its extreme violent content, especially in relation to the original game, which paved the way for the introduction of the Entertainment Software Ratings Board game rating system in 1994, as well as the Australian Classification Board. Various games in the series, as well as advertisements for them, have been censored or banned in a number of countries because of the CEO Joost van Druin, because of the obvious rift between gamers on one hand and adult society on the other. Mortal Kombat set the tone for what constituted gamer culture. In Germany, every Mortal Kombat game was banned for 10 years from its release until 2015.
Wow.
Mortal Kombat 2011 is also banned in Brazil, South Korea, and hasn't been banned in Australia until February 2013. MK11 is banned in Indonesia, Japan, China, and Ukraine.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
It's a video game.
I know.
I mean, we heard of back in the day when they had the movies that were on the banned list and stuff, but these are video games and they're still banned to this day. We're not talking about like 1981. We're talking about now, 2021. We still have countries banning fucking video games. They're fucking video games. What the hell, people?
Well, I don't know if you've first Christian's here. Christian, what's up, man? How you doing? He snuck in.
I'm doing good.
Christian.
Doing good. Glad to be here. Doing good.
Good. Right on. I don't know if you're
Mike. You do know that video games cause kids to harm people, right? Violent video games. You know that's right.
That's true.
They've been trying to prove that shit for about 40 years now, and they still haven't convinced me. But I guess they're not giving up on it.
I don't know if have you played any Mortal Kombat 11, Mike?
No, I haven't actually. No.
What's funny with that game is it's still bloody, it's still violent, there's still graphic fatalities, but they've covered all the female characters from head to toe, as if it's the dead of winter. Like they're going to a fight, but they're wearing like these long capes and high-heeled boots, and they're completely covered from head to toe. So that's how Mortal Kombat has got with the times, quote unquote. The guys are still shirtless and half naked, but the women are like covered from head to toe.
Oh, well, I'm okay with that then.
As far as the games being banned in countries, there are still a lot of weapons bans and depictions of weapon bans in a lot of countries. In the UK, for instance, nunchucks until about 8 years ago could not be portrayed in film. They were always exorcised from the films. And that's pretty much the UK. So I suspect that the game runs afoul of a bunch of laws as that because it portrays certain weapons being used on screen.
What is so deadly about nunchucks, might I ask?
They were popular among young Britons at one point because of an explosion of cinema from China, Hong Kong. And as usual, the moral crusaders make their decisions.
Yeah, well, yeah. Friends of mine, we would take our mom's broomsticks, right? We'd cut them down, and then we'd nail like we would make our own nunchucks with like a piece of rope and nails, and we'd beat the shit out of ourselves with them. And our parents would just stand there and laugh at us like,
that was not a defense,
dumbass?
just an explanation.
It's like you learn. That's how if you take away a person's ability to learn from their own dumb actions, you're going to end up with what we have, and that's a world full of dumb people.
Yeah.
The trailer for the new Mortal Kombat, it didn't super. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it, but I'm excited to see it. A lot of the response, it seems like for the most part from people, has been overwhelmingly positive for that trailer. But I think as long as it doesn't look like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, people are going to be stoked. So I mean.
That's where they took it one step too far.
Exactly.
That was a bridge too far. Yes, the first film, which launched the career of Paul Anderson, believe it or not, that was really his stepping stone. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's up for you to decide. But the first film, I thought, except for obviously being held back as a PG-13, if they would have allowed. The fatalities to go on the screen, then that probably would have been that would have been great for me. That would have been what I expected. We get half of that now. Hopefully they don't screw up the other half that movie got right.
Yeah. And to go back, just to talk about the games very briefly, I remember, I grew up with those games. So, I remember first my buddy telling me about the Mortal Kombat arcade game.
Yep.
And we went to a pizza shop and it was there. And I remember watching a guy play it and he was tearing people up as Scorpion. And I was blown away because of the blood and how realistic it looked. And then he was setting people on fire. And then somebody joined him as Sub-Zero and pulled his head off with his spinal cord attached. And I was like, oh my God, this is and then of course, like you saw Goro and Shang Tsung floating around. I was blown away. And then when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, I got it on Super Nintendo. I was that nerd who got the Nintendo Power magazine. I knew every move, every fatality, every babality, every friendship. I knew everything about that game frontwards and backwards. I lost like a year of my life. Just exactly, yeah. In Mortal Kombat 2. So
I love that smart-ass reaction to the people getting all mad about the fatalities. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, well, here's some friendships. Here's some babalities. Is that dumb enough for you yet? We can come up with some more stuff.
Whoopsies.
I mean, and the inside jokes with the toasty, oh, that was so good. And we all wanted to nail that uppercut and get the toasty. I mean, that was
course. Amazing. Yeah, of course.
You know, my wife actually last night, she said, hey, Christian, we got the Nintendo Switch and an Xbox One. And she's really been enjoying the Switch. And she said, hey, Christian, I got Mortal Kombat 11 on it. It went down to $15. I was like, awesome. And she goes, you're not going to believe this, Christian. I was like, what's up? She's like, RoboCop and Rambo are on the game. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So I'm playing last night. And, we live in a world, where we've got Friday the 13th, Blu-rays with not even Pamela on it. But what's really cool about this is I was doing the fatality with Rambo last night. And my wife was watching it, and they mimicked the death from Rambo 4 when he kills the Burmese officer, where he pulls out his jugular or whatever, or he squeezes the dude's neck until he starts bleeding. I was like, this is really cool. And they got Stallone's voice for it. So that was really, really cool. I actually heard his voice and everything. So, and then playing as RoboCop was awesome too, because they actually had Ed 209 when you do special moves. So it seems like it's really still done by fans, big time. So that's really cool.
That's Peter Weller's voice too. R.I.P.
Oh,
right. The only thing I wish they would have done, and this is me being nitpicky, when you do the fatality with RoboCop and Ed 209 comes behind you, I wish they would have added that tiger roar that you hear, that when you first see him. I was telling Cindy, I was like, oh, they didn't do the tiger roar, and she goes, quit being silly. Like, that's good enough, Christian. The only thing I'll add about Mortal Kombat. The only other thing I want to add about Mortal Kombat is I'm a little upset that just in some way or another that Van Damme is not involved in this new Mortal Kombat. I wish Van Damme somehow could have got involved for like the super fans to know the stuff that Mike was talking about. And the funny thing is when I saw Annihilation as a kid, I took that movie. I was a kid because I'm the youngest one here. But so when I was little when I saw that movie. I took that movie as seriously as the Shawshank Redemption when I was a kid. Like Annihilation was everything to me, And now when I watch it back, I'm like, Jesus, man! Just to think this was a box office smash hit. Like this movie was a box office smash hit. That's amazing to me. I think the first one borderlines on just a good movie. I mean, I really do love the first Mortal Kombat.
It was a good movie. Me and my friends, when the trailer came out for the first one, we were all like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Now, my favorite thing to do, I never played the original Mortal Kombat. My favorite thing to do was to watch the guys play it. So every time we were around, they'd have their, Mortal Kombat out and they'd be playing it. And I'd be watching it as if it was like, I was in Vegas at the fights or something, and I loved it. I loved it. And then so when the movie was coming out, we all got super excited. We all, got in the car and we all went together and we all came out of there elated and excited. And then the next day I'm hearing all this stuff about, oh, it's a piece of crap and all this stuff from all these people. And I'm like, what? I don't know. Did we see the same movie? Because I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought the special effects for back then were awesome. And I don't know. I haven't seen Annihilation, so I don't know how that is. But I take your guys' word for it that it's pretty crappy.
Oh, you got to see Annihilation.
You think I should watch it?
You have to see Buffalo Bob is Shao Kahn. Remember him from Joe Dirt, Buffalo Bob? That guy's been in a
Yes.
lot of cool movies. That guy was in a Van Damme movie called Lionheart. He was
in
funny.
Cobra.
He was in Cobra.
I
in
saw
Cobra.
He was in
Lionheart.
Cobra. He's in
Brian
Fright Night too. That dude, he's that guy that just shows up in all kinds of random movies as side characters. Well, he's Shao
Yeah.
Kahn in Annihilation, and he does not disappoint. It's a bad movie, but I will watch it all the time and have a blast. It's
I might check it
it's
out
one of those.
then.
It's a huge step down, but it's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it's really bad, but it's comical how bad it is for the most part.
Just to finish up what I was saying, I have never played the game up until last year. Last year, I decided that I wanted to, fight with my husband a little bit. So I said, let's play Mortal Kombat 10 because it's free if you have PS Now. So we started playing it, and I don't know, maybe he was letting me win. I kicked his butt pretty bad a few times, but I think he was letting me win. But I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea about the mashing the buttons and what sequences I'm doing. I'm just taking a chance. I don't care though. It's super fun, and Katana rocks. I like her. I have learned some of her moves, but
You're what they
really
call you're what they call in the fighting game community a masher. And,
Yes.
and mashers you typically do well because you just push every button and something comes out of
Yep.
nowhere and attacks you. So
yeah, eventually I'll learn it, but right now it's pretty much just me mashing different buttons, and whatever comes out. But it is fun, and I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the movie.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I am too. Well, Jamie, take the floor. You've got a review from the heart.
I do. We're going to talk about The Exorcist II, The Heretic. And here's the thing. When I was a kid and I saw this movie, I probably was, I'm going to guess 9 or 10 years old when I saw it the first time. I could have been a little younger, possibly. And to me, it looked like this, it is to me still this way. It's a spectacle. It's a visual spectacle. And I really like the soundtrack too quite a bit. I think the storyline isn't the greatest, and there's some ridiculous things in it, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But when I was a kid, I saw this as colorful and beautiful, and the cinematography is so incredibly awesome that it's part of what formed my opinions on all future movies. A lot of my movies tastes are always like really colorful, and the cinematography is always extremely like a painting, and this movie to me has that. And I think this movie, because it has that, it really did influence every single thing I ever liked after that in the future. But I've recently rewatched it. I rewatched the theatrical cut. It's 117 minutes long. That's too long. It's too long. It's drawn out. It's still beautiful. The soundtrack is still incredible. I like certain aspects about it. For example, it influenced me to want to be a psychologist. It influenced me to want to help children. It influenced me to want to be a philanthropist and a person who, helps others. It really did. That and Ginny in Friday the 13th really influenced that. But the whole pendulum swinging and the light flashing, and then that being like, oh yeah, that's going to drag you both into the same dream. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. As a kid, it was really easy for me to believe that because, you're a kid, you believe everything. But now that I'm an adult, that was just ridiculous. And I wish that they could go back and like redo it and maybe do it more like, The Cell did it, with J-Lo, where they have that looked realistic to me. It seemed way more real, but this was ridiculous. Richard Burton is way over the top. But I also think that made it kind of enjoyable for me when I was a kid. It's not so much now as an adult. I'm not thrilled with his over the top performance, but I really do still I'm always going to love this movie with all my heart. I like the fact that James Earl Jones is in it, and he plays, you know, the Kukumo, and he's always good in everything he does. I never ever, you know, say, oh, he did a crappy job, because he never does a crappy job. He always does a really good job. And I like the idea of the good locust. I like that idea that somebody can have an effect on others. She's obviously a healer. She heals that little girl. I think that's how come she's able to be possessed by Pazuzu in the first place, is because she has something special about her already. And that's how he was able to use her power, get inside her. Same with Kukumo. He turns into a doctor because he was the village healer. So I don't know. I just think I think it's a good movie. I think it's worth watching. I think it's worth giving another look. You know, don't watch the long version though. I say go for the shorter one if you can. But do get this Blu-ray if you're going to watch it at all. It's John Borman's film of Exorcist II, the Heretic. It's the collector's edition, and it's got a lot of really good stuff on it. I have not seen the special features yet. I wanted to watch them, but I ended up running out of time this week, so I didn't get to do that. But in a symbolic gesture of how I'm feeling about this movie right now.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
I'm going to
rip the slip, baby.
This is the symbolic gesture of how I feel about this movie today, as opposed to how I did as a child. I'm going to keep the movie, but I'm going to get rid of the you know, the extra junk that went along with it.
I think I just heard Pazuzu wail. You know what we should do? We should do a live commentary for Exorcist II, and every time there's a Pazuzu reference, we take a shot. We'll be dead in 15 minutes.
Oh my God, I really want to do that. I'm serious. That would be great.
We'll be dead. We'll be dead. We'll be dead. We won't make it.
I think what you heard was the voices of 1,000 nerds crying out in terror.
I used to be one of those nerds. I still am, sort of. But
Jamie, let me ask you something, Jamie. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So why do you think so many people don't like Exorcist 2, in your opinion?
Okay. I actually think that a lot of the people that say they don't like it probably haven't even seen it. Or if they have, they probably already had the preconceived notion about it before going in and watching it. I think that if people, that's okay, Lauren, you don't have to like it.
No. Go ahead.
I think that a lot of times when it comes to reviewing things and critiquing things, you get a lot of people out there who want to say stuff negative just because they've heard other people say stuff negative about it. I'm not sure that people really hate it as much as they say they do, because even upon watching it again and seeing flaws in it, I still think it's a pretty good movie. It's got a lot of really good stuff in it. So I don't know. I can't really explain it except for the fact that I think a lot of people like to be part of a tribe. So I think that when they hear one person say something bad about it, then they want to say something bad about it too, just so they can feel like they're part of the tribe. Or if it really is their opinion that it's bad, I'm fine with that too. So, but that's what I think about that.
I feel you.
Not everybody's going to like everything, that's for sure. But that film does kind of, going back to Mortal Kombat, that is kind of the annihilation of the Exorcist series for a lot of people.
It is.
It's the Batman and Robin of Exorcist movies for a lot of people. Now, I can find things to like about those movies, and I find things to like about Exorcist II, but that doesn't mean that some of the criticism isn't valid.
Right.
But just outright dismiss it. Well, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Right.
I think I'd agree that there are good things in that film. What I remember most about that film is the video store cover, which is I was disappointed they didn't put that on their Blu-ray with the hair flowing. I actually think that's the best part of the movie. But I did watch it all the way through on Encore, and I was a little bit perplexed because maybe part of the reason people hate on it so much is because it at least to me, I remember it was kind of a different film than the first one. The first one kind of had a lot of the extra over the top gore in the neck and the kind of the sexual references and stuff like that. And from what I remember of 2, there's a lot of that stuff with the boom, 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 and the light and that stuff with the locusts. Freaking awesome on a visual level. It's awesome, and that stuff is cool. But I think it just didn't provide the not for me, but I'm saying I think with people they didn't get that same kick that they were looking for with the gore and all of that. So maybe that's why they hate it so much. But
that's a good point.
It's a different film than the original.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think that we're all playing this up way too nice. Exorcist II is one of the most infamously bad films ever released. Warner Brothers took it out of circulation the week it was released to recut it because the reaction was so bad. That wasn't people just saying, we love the original, so we're going to slag this one. There was a knee-jerk, awful reaction to this film because it is nonsensical. It's compared to the writing of the first film, and later, the third film, of course, didn't exist when the second came out. It is laughable. It is a film in which, lines of dialogue like "I will spit a leopard" are supposed to be taken seriously. It has earned its reputation as one of the all-time bad movies. I've said this a million times. I keep going back to it, thinking that I must be missing something. There has to be something redeeming in it. Because a serious director, serious tech credits, great actors all around. Richard Burton was not at a good place in his career, but he had been an incredible actor. And I think if he'd been invested in the material, we might have gotten one more serviceable performance out of him. But Linda Blair is, no pun intended because she does it in the movie, but sleepwalking through the movie. That ending, depending both endings, because there's 2 vastly different endings, whether you're watching the theatrical or the recut, they're both bad. I don't think it holds. It's not even in the same stratosphere as the first film. The only thing good I will say coming out of it, although Monty's right, I do like the cover art. I like the original poster quite a lot.
Mm-hmm,
oh yeah, it's a badass cover.
But the only thing good that came out of it is it was such a complete disaster that Warner Brothers had no interest in making another. And so that allowed Morgan Creek to get the rights and allow William Peter Blatty to make Legion into a film. So if Exorcist II had actually been a better film, we would never have gotten even the novel written, because Blatty wrote Legion as a response to Exorcist II. He was angry.
Didn't William Friedkin hate that film as well? I recall seeing the interview on YouTube.
Yeah, but to be fair, William Friedkin hates everything. So.
Yeah, anything that he didn't make. Anything that he didn't make. I heard him say that it's a silly, stupid film or something like that.
I guess for me, it's just that it's like one of those movies that's so bad that it's great.
I keep hoping to get that, and I can never get over that bridge.
I looked up the writer because, like you said, there's a great director, there's a lot of great technical people involved, there's a great cast, and the guy who wrote it, William Goodhart, he only wrote 3 screenplays in his career. He was a playwright, and I just wonder, how did they go to him for an Exorcist sequel? What was it about him that they went, let's let this guy follow up The Exorcist with a screenplay?
Maybe the first one was just such a hit because it was a massive hit, surprise hit. And they felt that no matter what they did, they could never replicate that. And everything they would try to do would just be a lacking facsimile, right? It would just be inferior no matter what they did. So I respect them for, just swinging for the fences and trying something different and going in a different direction. Even though they struck out, it was a swing and a miss. They went for it. So for that, I respect it. And, it's weird enough that I can, maybe not sober, but if you're imbibing in your favorite thing, whatever that may be, none of my business. But maybe it's a nice little mind trip to waste some time. We've all had a lot of time to waste in the past year, so
it's true.
It's like you can't blame somebody for maybe wasting it on that. I don't hate it as much as other people, but compared to the first film and Exorcist III, it's definitely lacking compared to both. But it was different. You know, I at least try to give him credit for doing something so batshit insane. I mean, it's just like, wow, the balls on these guys. Look
what's
at
going on.
You know,
I did spend plenty of time out in the field last year swinging a COVID mask around my head. So,
yeah,
you know,
I can't argue
one
with
thing I
Lauren.
want to add.
Yeah, go for it.
Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say one thing I wanted to add that I've noticed. I'm pretty active on like Facebook and horror groups and stuff, and you know, to save any more negativity on the film, I'm not a big fan of that film. But one thing Jamie did say that I see a lot, and it's not just this movie. You know, sure, there's always going to be people that will say a movie's bad that haven't even seen it. Again, I'm not a big fan of the movie, but when the resurgence of Exorcist III came around a few years ago, and I mean that movie really got a big fan base. That movie, Exorcist II, is sandwiched between two juggernauts, and the fact that Exorcist III is so good, and it came out years after that, it's like nobody even thinks about Exorcist II. It seems like. I mean, especially like on the circles that I see, and there's a lot of people that agree with me that actually think Exorcist III is the best one. So it's like Exorcist II. It's I would even call it an afterthought. Because I do think Exorcist III is the best one. It's the only one that still scares me. I think the first one's good. Yeah, it's great. But the third one's the only one that seriously gets under my bones still. So when I talk to people about those movies, guilty, I don't even mention Exorcist II ever. I don't even bring it up. Not because it doesn't exist, but I don't need to. It's like Exorcist III is so fucking good. It blows me away. And it has no right to be that good.
Well, I think the stink of The Exorcist II affected Exorcist III when it came out because nobody wanted to see an Exorcist III, and it completely tanked.
But if you got to follow a film, what do you want to follow? One or two,
right? Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because if you're following two, you got nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
True, but nobody wanted to see it. You know,
Let me.
But that's why they were so shocked because it was great. And 3 is great. I 100% agree with you on that. 3 is amazing.
Now, at the time when it came out, how common was it for sequels at the time? Because if it was one of the first like sequel movies, because I honestly don't remember a whole lot of sequel movies before then.
Well, this was 77.
Yeah,
this is a great transition.
Is it?
I mean, it came out in 77. That was kind of there. I don't think there were a whole lot of sequels happening in 77.
Not like later years, no.
Yeah,
I mean, that was something that was kicked off with in 78, I think more. So it kind of hit right before the sequel craze took root.
Right.
So that's a good point.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, like it, like I kind of see it like an experiment a little bit. I think the whole thing is really experimental, to be honest. No matter what anyone says about the story, I completely get it. I understand that the story is sucky, but it's because of the visuals and the ethereal nature of the film itself that I really, really love it. So, I mean, it's not like I think it's better than Exorcist 1 or better than Exorcist 3 or even better than the following sequels, you know? It's that for me, it's so memorable. It's the most memorable. It's one of the most memorable things I think I've ever seen in my life because of the visual aspects. The guy falling down, you know, in the crack of the mountains and getting stuck, that kind of stuff. The flying on the locust wings and all of it. It's so memorable for me. It created a standard for me as far as visuals go in a movie. So I think that that's why it's so important to me. It doesn't have to be important to other people in the same way. It's just me personally. And my whole shtick right now is I want to share, you know, the things that affected me personally with everyone else. So maybe they might like it too, you know? So
that's the most important thing is like, if you like it, then it's good.
Right.
You know, the other people don't have to agree with you. It's cool.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of movies I like that other people, you know, can't stand, and I'm okay with that.
We all have our Exorcist too. That's for sure.
Yeah, we all have that.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing, Jamie, is that it makes you feel something.
Yeah.
It does.
I think movies don't do. You know what I mean? Not now. They don't make you feel something.
Right.
You know, and I think that's, you know,
Let me tell you. Let me tell you a movie that moved me personally.
Oh boy, here we go.
I went and saw Rennie Harlan's Exorcist: The Beginning in the theater.
Yeah.
And then the very next time I went back to the theater to watch a different movie, they accidentally started showing The Exorcist: The Beginning again.
You felt something.
I bolted up out of that chair and I ran to the front and I said, "You're showing us the wrong movie. I do not want to watch The Exorcist: The Beginning again. Please." They had to go fix it or whatever, but they started, and I was up and out of there quick. Like, stop it.
So what's the best out of those three? Dominion, The Beginning, or The Heretic?
Jesus.
What's the best disease? Let's see.
I'd say Beginning only because Dominion is really boring and 2 is a mess. So
you don't like that Indian kid, Lauren, with the
how much of that do you get as opposed to people standing around looking at sand?
Yeah.
Dominion is so, oh my God.
It's Glacier.
Yes.
I fell asleep on it.
I'm confused at which one is which. I like personally the one where the doctor gets possessed. That's the one. That's probably the one you guys don't like.
That's I think that's the beginning.
That is the beginning.
The lady. Yeah, she gets
at least
possessed.
you get the exorcism scene in the cave, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I like.
I don't. You don't get anything in Dominion except like the wind blowing deserts. The sand.
CGI hyenas. Yeah.
Yeah,
the hyenas were scary though.
No, they look like sprites from like '84.
And if you thought Linda Blair was sleepwalking through Exorcist II, poor Skarsgård in Dominion, just literally, he's just like, you can see Paul Schrader's arm come into frame and shake him awake. The devil is bad. I hate him. Where's my paycheck?
Absolutely.
So, Lauren, I believe you've got a very interesting topic for us this week.
Yeah, I think that for those of us who have been lifelong genre fans, there's something that's happening in the last 10 years, or rather not happening in the last 10 years, that's kind of fascinating. And at the same time, it kind of speaks to maybe some hope, but at the same time, some fear about the future. When I grew up watching Universal monster movies and the Hammer monster movies, and those were series. We talked a little bit before about whether there was sequels before Exorcist II. Well, there certainly was. There was entire franchises that ran through decades, often broaching a second decade throughout the genre's history. And if you want to look at the Godzilla films, which I consider monster films part of the horror genre, that's an unbroken chain for, God, how long? Longer than I've been alive. So obviously we get to the 70s and we start to see sequels pop up more regularly, whether we're talking about the Omen films or whatever. And then the 80s, obviously the floodgates open. Same thing once the Scream wave begins with the 90s. But in the last 10 years, we've seen remarkably few long-running franchises come to life. Now, yes, there is the Conjuring universe and there is Insidious. But you're hard-pressed to find any great number of new iconic franchises that are growing in the current environment. Maybe this is in part because companies like A24 are producing standalone films that are really strong, but don't lend themselves to sequelization. Not that that's ever stopped Hollywood before, i.e. we really need a Pet Sematary Part 2 or the just announced Pet Sematary prequel that they're making.
I heard about that.
The world heard about that, and we all had the same reaction.
It all takes place from the point of view of Church the Cat.
It's a Judd. It's a Judd. Yeah, it's a Judd story.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because in a way I'd prefer this, because I think long-running franchises inevitably kind of become self-fulfilling to the genre, right? They become rote and normal and ineffectual, and then everyone focuses on them and nothing else happens. And then the genre goes through a low period. So if we can avoid that, that's great. But on the other hand, it also speaks to the fact that although horror is more popular today than it's ever been, with the most popular shows on television and the most popular comic books, and obviously films coming out and making more money in the genre than they ever have before, it's event culture, which event culture, while popular, can feel very empty. And it's probably a pretty bad mismatch to this genre that I love so much and so many of you love so much. So why aren't we looking at The Babadook Part 4 coming out in April? Because if it was the 80s or even the 90s, that would be happening. Or where's Hush Part 3 or Hush Part 2 for that matter? These are films that do seem to be open to the idea of sequels, at least in the same way that Candyman or, Friday the 13th were open for sequels after first films that didn't obviously lead to where the sequels went. I think really the answer to this, to answer my own question, although I won't pretend that I can put any veracity to my answer, is that I think that we have too many choices out there to spend too much time on any one thing. There's hundreds of streaming services now, literally hundreds of streaming services, both free and pay, and they have millions of choices. You can dial up anything at any time, pretty much, if you're willing to pay that bill. Video games put you behind into the director's chair and let you control the action and give you a more immediate reaction. It's easy to lose a couple hours playing a Mortal Kombat game where you get to play Rambo, right? YouTube has 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. Is it really any wonder why we can't find that next big franchise? And maybe we shouldn't even want the next franchise to be going for another 15, 20 years. Maybe that's not what I'm arguing for. But I think, in a way, we tend to focus on those big event films and those big event releases. And I think the genre itself is kind of antithetical to that. It's always been the underdog genre, barely respected by the mainstream and always kind of chiseling away at the edges of normal, polite society. I think horror works best as social criticism, even when it's not trying to be social criticism. So why is horror both at its highest point and lowest point, and why don't things run long anymore? I do think it's about choices, and that's a great problem to have. But it might be a problem that bites us in the ass just as much as those long-running franchises do. Because unless at some point we as a community decide to have something to champion, we may end up with nothing to champion. What do you guys think?
Well, I also, I'm
okay.
sorry, Jimmy.
No,
okay?
You go.
I also think that too, Lauren, that along with all the many hundreds of choices that we have with the streaming and all of that versus when we only had cable or the video store with very small selective choices, I think as far as the horror genre is concerned, I think the fact that back in those days, because we didn't have so much social media exposure to horror, I think that the horror we saw in films, it could evoke more emotion in us, evoke more conversation, trip you out a little bit more. But now, okay, you can go onto YouTube, not YouTube, but you can go onto the internet and see a real beheading. You could watch the news and hear about such and such. Like, I grew up in Cleveland about those girls who were locked in that basement on the west side.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? You see so much real horror exposed in media, and we're getting these images 24/7 that I think by the time you go back to a horror film, I think we're just, maybe I'm talking about something different, but it feels like we're desensitized to it, that the film almost is ineffective at what it's trying to do because I'm too horrified by what I'm already exposed to in real life. You know what I mean? With just the news and everything. I mean, even, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, we're seeing a lot of horrific stuff on the news every single day and all sorts of outlets for it. It's not like when we just had that one Faces of Death video and up in the corner of the video store. Now we got Faces of Death 24,000 different ways.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's hurting the genre.
And I'll second that, Monty, because I mean, my mother is scared. The news scares my mother to death when it comes to all this COVID stuff, because all the news is scare you to death with COVID. New strain, mutated strain, vaccine resistant strain. It's coming for you. You're going to die. You're dead. You know what I mean? Now make sure you don't change off the channel when we come back. More death. Stay here. More death. It's just like, she's scared to death to even like step foot outside the house. And I have to tell her, stop watching the news.
Yep.
Just stop.
Yep.
I try to do the same with my mom, but it's like a drug. this 24-hour news cycle is probably one of the worst things that's happened to us as a society, because now that they got to drive those ratings, so
Right.
they got to be more extreme. This company's got to be more extreme than the other company, which has to be more extreme, and then they have to have villains and good guys, and they've created their own genre of bullshit. Really, and it's horrifying. They're exploiting things for ratings, and they're scaring people. That I think it's the older people that are really more affected by this, because they were raised to trust the news media. That these people are telling you the truth and they have your best interest in mind, and they don't understand the whole ratings game and the fact that they just want to keep eyeballs on screen and they really don't give a shit how it affects you.
Right.
And again, throw back to they're more worried about video games and movies when they should be worried about the crap that's being put out on television in the form of news. A lot of these things aren't even news. They're just opinion shows masquerading as news. That's even the worst part.
Yep.
I mean, there's no more Walter Cronkite that you could, and that's the way it is. You know what I mean? Because he was an actual journalist that had a little bit of credibility. A lot of these people are just opinion shows. They got personalities and they're selling their brand, and they don't really care what damage they do. And it's on every channel. It's not just one network. All right. I'm not going to point out just one network. It's every network.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all horrible. And I decided last year, it was within the last couple of years, just to unplug from all that shit. And I feel a lot better. Yeah. I feel a lot better about it, because it's just overwhelming, just the stuff they beat you over the head with. And they try to create this echo chamber and that echo chamber. And they talk about a lot of the divisiveness going on in this country. I blame the media as much as anybody else.
Me too.
Because it's on TV every day. It's like, oh, well, if you think this way, then you're this type of person. And and we shouldn't like these type of people. And what the hell is going on here? I mean, we're all humans. Thinking differently is a healthy thing. Mm-hmm. Having conversations and learning from each other and being individuals is good. Mm-hmm. But if you listen to the news media, they'll tell you it's bad and that you're bad, and this is why, because you're not. So that is more horrifying to me than any movie I could ever watch.
I think that this really brings They Live to light. They Live is so poignant right now, I think, because to me that encapsulates. That's not the right word, is it?
Encaps.
We got you, Jamie.
Encapsulate. Say it fast so nobody knows that you're saying it.
Yeah. Pretend like you know what you're talking about.
This movie cap. This movie
never back down. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it basically encompasses. How about that? I'm like Porky Pig now. It seems to be like very poignant for our times right now. I think people need to watch that movie. I think people need to watch that movie and start learning lessons in themselves. Also, this brings to mind Hellfest for me, because I think Hellfest is like a good example of kids aren't afraid. They're not afraid. They go to the Knott's Berry Scary Farm or whatever. They go down to Universal Horror Nights or whatever, and they're not afraid because they know it's all fake. But then you bring in this element of the serial killer who takes advantage of that. That's the kind of thing that we need today. We need to find out what scares people and then make movies using that fear. I think that's why Hellfest is so genius, because they've tapped into this idea of the youth being so blind to risk and not being very good at assessing risk. So I think that right now it's kind of important that we kind of push this idea a little bit. Maybe we need some creative people out there looking at society and finding out what people really truly fear, and then using that for inspiration. That's
what had always been the center of the genre. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said earlier that I introduced the idea that I like when horror serves as social criticism, even when it doesn't try to. Right. And by the way, I completely see what you did there. You're trying to butter me up after our Exorcist II argument by bringing up Hellfest. No. I see what you did.
No, but I am not like that.
But yeah, no, I think it's important that, Monty brought up a great a great explanation of the landscape of media right now and the ultra violence that's pervasively available, the real ultra violence. But that is really ripe material for horror to riff off of. In the past, we always looked at it and as for inspiration. Now it seems like, again, looking for event horror and the thing that's going to hit 4 quadrants. The Conjuring, right?
Right.
None of us are afraid of anything in The Conjuring, but they'll make a loud sound and something will move fast and someone in scary makeup will be hiding in a corner, right? So, and that's where we're at with the entertainment sphere. Rather than really having some social criticism or talking about what all the anxiety that's hanging in the air over us all every day anyway, which is what the genre always did.
I think Hereditary is excellent because it does go into that a little bit. The fear in that is your fear of your own family history. The fear of passed down mental illness, passed down sicknesses. I thought that was quite genius. So that's tapping into a fear that's actually pretty poignant. I think that everybody kind of has that fear, oh, my family has this in it. Oh my gosh, am I going to get it? Or, oh, my uncle over here is like, he's got mental illness. Does that mean that my kid will get it, or my dad will get it, or I'll get it? I mean, we need to find out. I mean, I know what scares me. I'm scared right now. I think I'm scared of influence. So I'm scared of people influencing people and taking advantage of ignorance. So I think that a lot of movies right now would be great if they were coming out with movies like They Live, because that taps right into that. So
and I'm also afraid of people allowing themselves to be influenced so that they can feel like they fit into a crowd.
Right.
Because nobody wants to be ostracized.
Exactly.
So whether they believe it or not, they'll go along with a narrative just because they want to feel like they belong and they don't want to be singled out. So there's a lot of that going on too.
There's a lot of that going on, and especially with young people. Especially with young people these days. Yeah.
Nobody's just second that, Mike. What I was going to say is nobody's an individual anymore. I think all of us as horror fans on this panel, we can go back to probably how we were when we were kids. The only one talking about, at least I remember being in the cafeteria, the only one talking about Friday the 13th Part 2 and Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's why I go on YouTube now and I see kids that are like 8 and 10 talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and it's cool. I'm like, oh, it wasn't cool in 1989. But we all know what it's like, us on this panel, to be ostracized and individuals. So at least we know.
That used to be like, we used to wear it like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And now it's like a source of fear.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. It's like, no, be yourself, be proud to be yourself. I mean, be the voice of opposition when there needs to be one. And don't allow yourself to be scared in submission, because that's when bad things happen, when people just go along with the mob.
Yeah, when
it's like a Black Sabbath lyric from Mob Rules. When you listen to fools, the mob rules.
Yeah,
Mike,
you got to be the one to stand up
I
and
was
say
going
bullshit.
right there, man. I was about to say when folk music started to become something that everyone just clamored towards the center on, we needed Black Sabbath, and when Journey were ruling the radio, we needed the Pistols.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at. We need people to go back to some sense of identity and originality.
Yeah.
And now those genres you used to be able to count on to be those counterculture voices have all joined in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
They've been absorbed into the narrative, and now there is nobody calling bullshit. Right. And that's what we really need, whether it be a movie or a band or something. We need somebody to take the lead, Whether you agree with him or not, one of the most punk rock things I ever saw was when Johnny Ramone was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He said, "God bless President Bush and God bless America." He's a punk rocker being accepted. That was the balls on that fucking guy. We need something. We need somebody with those kind of balls to stand up and say, screw this shit. This isn't cool.
We need. I mean, it's I mean, it's so sad that George Carlin's no longer around, but I think if he was
was
around,
poised.
he'd probably take one look at the landscape and end himself. You know what I mean?
No, he'd be thinking, "Ooh,
money,
this is a target-rich environment."
Yeah. I think, for a Hall of Fame analogy, I think again when the Pistols entered into the Hall of Fame and they refused to show up and they sent a mean letter saying basically, "Fuck you, we don't want in." We need that. We need that. Like, don't normalize what was important at one time. Don't do it.
Right.
There's a price to pay. It's the high school mentality that's just taken over social media. If you stand out from the crowd, you're squashed. If you have a differing opinion from the crowd, you got a target on your back.
I feel like the internet has opened up the world to bullies, and because there's distance between people with the internet, it's so easy just to say, well, you suck and there's something wrong with you and you're wrong and I don't like you or whatever people are going to say to be mean because they love themselves so much. I think people need to stop doing that. I think people need to realize that they have flaws themselves. Go look at yourself in the mirror, people. Go look at yourself in the mirre. Tell yourself you're perfect. I've
tried that. I'm never going to do that again.
I ran out of mirrors. I broke them all.
I was gonna try to.
I don't know, Lauren. I thought maybe you didn't have a reflection.
I was going to add a few things to this because I like this topic a lot. In my opinion, I do think that there is so much content out there that I think a lot of the major studios can't really even figure out what's trendy because there's so much stuff coming left and right and it's hard to figure it out. And then remember Mike said something last time, you watch one movie that you forget it the next 30 minutes because you got 17 more movies that are on Shudder now you got to watch and this and that. One thing I think that A24 is doing good is it seems like their movies are a little bit more spaced out. How long were we talking about St. Maud? I'd take COVID away from it. We get excited when we hear about these A24 movies. I remember Midsummer. Yes. I was chomping at the bit to see Midsummer.
Yes.
I think A24 has adopted the model of saying, hey, we're just going to take our time and pump out nothing but 10 out of 10s. Nothing but 10 out of 10s. And they've got a dedicated fan base. I know everybody here, we can't wait to see that next A24 movie.
Right.
I want to say that also, you damn right I want to see some sequels come back. When I was in high school, every year, I took a girl to see a Saw movie in the theater. I missed that so much. Granted, it would be my wife now, but you damn right I had a blast every year for Halloween. I got to go see the next Saw movie, and I got exactly what I was wanting: gore and just some funny characters. And I wanted to see Tobin Bell. I wanted to hear him say, "I want to play a game." It was as comfortable as peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but I loved it, and I missed that. What's worse? When you look at, here's another thing. This is why I think we don't have sequels now either. It's so important to me that for you to have a sequel of a movie, yes, it's got to make money. Number one, it has to make money. Otherwise, why would a studio want to do it? But when you have movies, and I'll just use this as the harshest example out there, when you've got a movie like Black Christmas 2020 that clearly had a social message before any kind of story, where do you go from there? There's no sequel potential. What's worse, having a Black Christmas 2020 like we had? Or what if there was a Black Christmas 2020 that actually had some kind of a cool story and a character you really cared about? Because, I watched the movie. I couldn't tell you one character's name from that movie. What's worse, having the Black Christmas we had last year or one that would spawn off more sequels but had a lot of people that really dug it and enjoyed it? There's no reason I shouldn't be going, again, pretend COVID never happened. There's no reason that movie shouldn't have been a success in all ends, and I would have been going to see Black Christmas 2 this year for Christmas. There's no reason I shouldn't have been doing that. But no, when we have to have social commentaries in front of the movies themselves, there's nowhere to go. There's no sequel potential in that.
Indeed. Go back to cryptic. If you want to say something in a movie, say it underneath the lines. It's this in your face stuff, like what Ghostbusters did. No offense. I'm a woman. Okay. And I didn't like it. I didn't like that they did that. It ruins feminism for me.
It just wasn't even funny.
I feel like feminism should be a woman wants to be a woman, but equal. We didn't want to take a man's place. I don't want to take a man's place. I don't want to be a Ghostbuster. That was stupid. let the Ghostbusters be the Ghostbusters. Make a new movie with a bunch of women chasing ghosts and call it something else. I don't understand this idea of making replacements of men with women. It makes zero sense to me, and it makes me mad because there's no way we're ever going to be equal if that keeps going on. They need to quit that right now, because I got to tell you, I want to be a feminine person. I want to wear pink, purple. I want to be feminine, but I want my mind to be equal with you guys' mind. You know what I'm saying? So all I want, as far as feminism goes, is to be treated like an equal in mind. It has nothing to do with, I want to take somebody's job. It's bothering me. These ultra feminists out there doing this wrong. You guys are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. The more you push, the further away they're going to go. You got to stop that. Please, I'm begging you.
I think all people just want to be equally respected, and I think that if you're a decent human being, you understand that. And I don't. So are there really that many armies of assholes running around out there? I mean, we should all be offended by it, because it's like, I think of everybody as equal. I'm no better, no worse than anybody else.
Right.
My opinion matters as much to me as your opinion matters to you, and that's the way it should be. Right. And we should all have an equal say and at least have the platform to speak. Because when you take away that platform to speak, or try to shut somebody up and try to take their power away from them as a human, you're doing a disservice to all humanity. So yeah, instead of fighting for one group's equality, why don't we fight for everybody's equality together?
Exactly.
That's how we accomplish things. So that's where I stand on that.
You win hearts and minds through dialogue. But
if you're not allowed to speak, then the dialogue is never spoken.
Correct.
Right.
So if we want to enact real change, we have to talk to each other and listen to each other and stop just talking past each other and just getting louder.
Yeah. And I think also too, in reference to like how this, comes into the films, just have strong characters. We don't have to care what, you know what I mean? Because like even Jamie, I thought about Aliens. Michael Biehn and Sigourney Weaver are equals in that movie.
Yes.
They're equals.
We were
She
more
proves
equal
herself, and he
I forgot Lauren. I forgot the James Cameron fan.
So wait. So the original film is a way better example.
The Parker and Sigourney Weaver?
Yes, you're right.
Any character and Ripley in the first film. Ultimately, Ripley survives because she's the one who can hold it together when everyone else falls apart.
Right.
Right.
And it was great because I don't like caricatures of groups of people. So the problem with the Ghostbusters thing or the Black Christmas thing is that you make all the women kind of perfect beings and you degrade all the men, right?
Right.
And that's how you do your feminism, but it's not feminism because it's transparent what you're doing. In Alien, Ripley isn't the bravest character. She's willing to go into the duct work to look for the alien, but Dallas is every bit as brave, right?
Yep.
So we didn't make Dallas less to do it.
Right.
And Lambert is allowed to be a woman, but she's a mess. She can't handle the stress. It allows you to show real characters going through a situation and show that women can be just as strong as men or stronger because you're not caricaturing everyone to do that. Right. It comes organically out of the plot. Whereas I think pretty much everything about Aliens is a cartoon, but point taken, Monty.
You know what I mean, Lord.
I do think in a sense though that A24 is our Sex Pistols. I really do, because they're just making good damn movies. To put it like this, the only complaint I had about Saint Maud is it wasn't as good as Hereditary to me. Think about that. I'm not complaining about what somebody said about the white man in the movie or, privilege. I said it wasn't as good as Hereditary. That's all I said. That's all I could say because it's in a great movie. That's so important. That's the only thing I could say.
I think too, if you go back and you look at some of the better horror films, even let's go back all the way to It Follows. What year did that come out? That came out. That was at least like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
All the good movies, all the good standout horror movies, I think since then haven't really been sequel bait. You know what I mean? They're one and done kinds of movies. They could have tried to make a sequel on like Lauren said, the Babadook 2 or 3, but just it kind of didn't make sense. There's not going to be a Saint Maud 2. There's not going to be a the Dark and the Wicked 2. There's not going to be a The Lodge 2. These are some of the better horror movies that we've had over the past few years. Just they aren't sequel kind of movies. They're one and done movies. So I think that's a big part of why we haven't seen a whole lot of sequels.
Franchise fatigue.
Right.
And not only did we have Saw, but we also had paranormal, whatever that was, activity
and they don't want to do sequels anymore because they think sequels are like, oh, people think sequels suck. Let's just reboot everything. We'll make a movie and maybe we'll give it a part 2 or 3. Oh, but now it sucks. Let's just reboot it. Let's start it over again. Everybody will forget.
That's
now they're rebooting movies that aren't really that old now. The rebooting has become the process used to be at least 30, 40 years, and now it's down to 10.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
It's down to 3 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I can guarantee you after Halloween Ends comes out, within the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be another Halloween movie and it will be a reboot.
Oh.
Yes, I mean, there's just no doubt about it.
The reboots are exhausting.
I'm not really excited about those films. I'm not even excited about Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends. I'll go see it, but
I've already said what I had to say about 2018. I watched it again, last year, and my thoughts are exactly the same. And I'm expecting nothing different from the sequels to it. So I'll watch them, but I guess the shock and horror of the reality of what they are has faded. Mm-hmm. So now it's just so I know what I'm getting into. It's more of that.
It was
badly written characters. We got rid of all the movies, but we didn't replace it with anything good. We just did a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks to keep the fans happy. And then we used a lot of social commentary, but we didn't actually frame it in an entertaining way. And bad character. It's a mess.
The best part, Mike, is like the little silver shamrock kids you see for a second in that movie.
Yeah, there are some things of it that I can sit back and now that the shock is worn off, I can sit back and watch it for what it is. And it's got decent cinematography, some good music. There's some things to like about it, but as a story, it's a mess. The characters are horrible. There's not one new character introduced that's worth a shit.
Yeah,
they did damage to existing characters, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Well, Mike, get ready for a lot of stupid humor. That's all.
Oh well, that seems to be another trend. They have to have the Marvel humor.
It's gonna be ramped up. I promise. When you see it.
They're sticking that humor that it just doesn't belong. You're forcing in humor where it doesn't belong.
Damn right. We're shoving it in, baby.
Michael Myers is not scary anymore, too. I mean, he's not scary. He's now, you know what? I'm going to say this and people are probably going to get upset at me, but Halloween has turned into an action movie. I'm not scared of Michael Myers. I know all the kids are going to die. I'm not afraid. I'm going to see people die. And that is morbid and kind of sick. But, that's the only reason to go is for the action. It's for the action. To me, it's almost as if it's turned into action now. I'm not afraid of it.
I don't know. I love that sense of humor. Oh, I got peanut butter on my penis. I still think of that, and I just laugh.
I mean, that's why I watch Halloween movies. that right there. I mean, that's what makes the first one so good.
I cannot wait to hear a conversation after Kills comes out.
I
cannot wait.
I think we'll probably have to do a whole show on just.
Sooner rather than later now, apparently.
Is it even going to be released outside of streaming? Have they killed the theatrical on that?
I'm sure it's going to be streaming.
We're getting an announcement soon.
They'll do. Yeah, I think they're gonna. Well, Carpenter came out not long ago and said it may only come to streaming now. I don't know.
Carpenter doesn't know it. Carpenter doesn't know anything. You remember when he denied that there was screenings of Halloween, the Halloween 2018? He said there wasn't any, and people were like, "He's right." I'm like, that dude doesn't know what the hell's going on. Are you kidding me? He's playing Fortnite or whatever he does in his house.
I don't think he cares either.
He doesn't care.
He's like, Cody, they need another musical cue.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Go get it, son. Yes, Dad. I'll
Bring
give
me
you
another
some of the money.
beer.
Yeah.
I love Carpenter. I love him to death.
Roll me another one, son. Thank you.
I am excited to hear this. Hey, legitimately though, the music him and his boy are doing, I'm all in.
Oh, yeah.
Like I like Lost Themes 3. I thought that was cool. So that's what I'm looking forward to with the movie. I'm sure Johnny and his kid will make some good music for the movie. So I got that to look forward to.
For me, nostalgia purposes, I think it'd be cool if they could bring back Alan.
He ain't coming back. You could tell. Ask Piz. Piz said Alan's ousted. Johnny ain't got time for Alan Howarth.
Alan.
You remember? I kind of brought that up to him. Piz like, Alan, we need you back for Halloween. He's kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Because their collaborations are just monumental to me from the 80s. I mean, so many soundtracks between John and Alan. It's like, I think they could bring him back at least.
I agree.
That would give me something to look forward to, because I think those guys had a thing. There was the raw creative element versus the technical ability, and the way they bounced off each other just created magic. And I'm nothing against John's kid, but I just think there's that there's an element missing.
Howarth didn't necessarily come right out and say this, but I got the impression that when Carpenter gave Howarth his blessing to do 4, 5, and so on, that was after Carpenter had divorced himself of anything Halloween, until 2018. So I think Carpenter was like, okay, you do that, and I'll see you never.
Yeah.
So. But look, remember when Eddie ditched his bass player and got Wolfie to play with him? It's kind of the same thing now. You know what I mean? Like Johnny wants to do it with his kid. I get that. It's his kid, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Well,
let's move on. We have got a video submission from Cam and from Monty talking about a very interesting topic, the upcoming Snyder cut of Justice League. And this is actually a pretty lengthy conversation between the two. And then we'll come back and we'll toss in our 2 cents. So here we go.
Everybody, this is Cameron from Regionfree, as well as the Obnoxious and Anonymous YouTube channel. I am here with Monty from the RMJ Movie Reviews YouTube channel, and we're here to talk about the HBO Max debut of Zack Snyder's Justice League that's going to premiere next month. Monty, I think we're the only two in Regionfree that are probably excited about this release. So let's start talking about it. So for those of you who may not know, Justice League was going to be the third film that Zack Snyder directed in the DC universe. All right. After Batman v Superman got destroyed by critics and audiences didn't much care for it. I blame that honestly on the studio for the most part, because if you see the ultimate cut of it at its 3-hour length, it is a much better film. I'm not saying it's a perfect film, but it's a better film than what they released. So they really did a disservice to everybody by cutting it. But because that film got destroyed, they said, hey, can you make Justice League a little lighter, in tone? And so Zack Snyder said, sure, I'll do that. So they went and shot this movie, this huge film, Justice League, right? And what happens with all films on the scale of big budgets is they do a cut and then you go and you do some reshoots. Not necessarily to it's just kind of like, oh, you may need an insert shot of this, or you may need to, maybe make this a little more clarified, whatever. And so that's what was going to happen. Unfortunately, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. And so he stepped away from the film. But what was going to happen was Joss Whedon, who had written some reshoot scenes for the film, was brought on to, in Zack Snyder's mind, oversee the reshoots and, follow Zack's storyboards and just kind of come in and finish up some stuff. And then, when Zack was able to come back, they were going to, finalize the film. Well, Warner Brothers saw their opportunity when Zack Snyder was gone to have Whedon come in and retool the whole film. So not only did Whedon do the reshoot scenes, he rewrote 90% of the script. And so much so that he got credit for the script. So in order to get credit on a screenplay, you have to write over 50% of what you see on the screen. So Whedon did that and basically released the film. Warner Brothers, wanted to do this as well. Released the film at a 2-hour length because it turns out if Justice League went over 1 minute of 2 hours, Warner Brothers executives were not going to get their bonuses.
Oh,
so Whedon retooled the whole film with 9% reshoots to a 2-hour limit. Nobody liked it. The studio didn't like it. Whedon, I don't think, likes it. The fans really didn't like it. Nobody liked this movie. They like parts of it, but they don't like the movie as a whole. So anyway, some social media hashtags released a Snyder Cut. HBO Max, needing material, said, "What you got, Zach? Can we do this?" And Zach said, realizing he was in a power position, said, "Look, we need to go back. We need to finish up the effects. We need to do the sound. I'd like to reshoot a couple things for my own. And here's the condition. I will not take a paycheck for this. I will do this solely for free, but let me have creative control and put this out properly." They said, "Great." So originally it came out to be a 4-hour film. They were going to cut it into 1-hour segments because HBO Max, of course, thought, hey, this makes sense because people would have to subscribe for 2 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, it comes back to the actors' agents who go, oh, it's now a miniseries instead of a movie. We need more money. So back to a 4-hour movie it is. I'm really excited about this. I love when filmmakers get to finally show their vision. I get it. A lot of people say, I didn't like Man of Steel. I didn't like Batman v Superman. Why am I going to like this? I didn't say you have to like this, but you should respect it that the filmmaker came back, triumphed adversity, triumphed the studio, went through one of the major losses that any parent could ever go through and come back with this film. And, the trailer for it with the Hallelujah, that Leonard Cohen song was his daughter's favorite song. So he cut the whole trailer to her favorite song. It's dedicated to his daughter. So on that aspect, I can't wait to see this film because look, I'm going to tell you straight up, Monty, no matter what, it's going to be better than what we already got.
Oh, and my thing is, I do not like when they take films away from directors like that and just reshuffle them and kind of take away what their original vision was. I mean, clearly, look, I'm one of the few people. I like Man of Steel. I really actually like Batman v Superman. Nobody kill me. I like the darkness of Batman. I know Batman doesn't kill people. I don't care. I like it. I just don't like.
Have you seen the Ultimate Cut?
Yes. Okay. I got the Blu-ray. It's a tons better movie.
Tons better.
Things are much more clearer. There are plot points that I understand more because there was things in the theatrical version of Batman v Superman where I was like, what? Why did this happen? I didn't get it. And that was kind of the same way I felt with Justice League. And I felt the tone was actually Justice League is 2 hours. Cam?
Yep.
Oh my God. It feels like literally to me when I watch it, it feels like it's an hour and a half. Like that's what it feels like. And I don't mean so much an hour and a half, like, oh, the pace is so great. I just mean like it's so jumbled and so disjointed and all over the place that I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of that 2 hours. There's inappropriate places of comedy where you can kind of feel it's leaning towards dark and then it kind of goes jokey. It's like
I'll tell you something else. Gal Gadot didn't even come back for the reshoots with Whedon. He had to shoot all those with a double because she refused to come back.
Oh, so that's not even her in a lot of that stuff. Oh,
a lot of the things are not even her. And he even repeated a joke from Avengers: Age of Ultron in it, with the Flash falling on Gal Gadot's chest and making a comment about it. Yeah. So I'm usually a big Whedon fan, but he really dropped the ball with this, and I firmly believe it's because studio pressure. He knew he was screwing over Zack Snyder. His wife had just come out with an editorial saying that he's a serial cheater and he just lies about being a feminist. So I think that when you have all those personal things coming at you, it's kind of hard to concentrate on what you're doing.
Right.
And so I think it was a major whiff on his part. And I'm glad, the article, if you get a chance to read the Vanity Fair article, it's incredible because it talks about how Chris Nolan saw the Whedon cut of Justice League and went to Zack Snyder and said, please, man, for the love of God, never watch it. Can you imagine Chris Nolan, the guy who makes all these lofty, big sci-fi fantasy intellectual films, went to Zack Snyder, and it's amazing that they're even friends, right? And he says, for the love of God, don't ever see this movie.
And something I want to say, I think people really hate on Zack Snyder a little bit too much. I don't think his films are as bad as people say they are.
See, what he needs is a real script writer.
Yeah.
Like if you had, a serious writer and then Zack Snyder came in with his visuals, it would be off the charts, right?
Right.
I feel like Zack Snyder is a lot like David Fincher. He's a visual stylist, and their work depends on the material.
Right.
So, like, if Zack Snyder got something like Zodiac, I think he would have killed it too. Because if you look at Watchmen is an incredible film, incredible. There's problems in all of Zack Snyder's films, but the guy always comes across as earnest.
Yeah.
And you never see an interview with him where you're like, God, he seems like such a dick. Like, he always seems like a guy I'd want to hang out with.
Yeah, and his lady's nice too. And the one thing I will say is, well, of course, not Justice League out of the mix. When you look at Man of Steel and you look at Batman v Superman, the original, the Ultimate Cut version, there is a consistency between the two films. Like, Batman v Superman is a good compliment to Man of Steel, minus, I would say, the Justice League forced plug-in stuff.
Sure.
That's the only stuff.
That wasn't his choice, though.
Right, that was forced upon him.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman wasn't supposed to be in Batman v Superman, and he found the right spot to put her in at the end.
Right. Oh, and if people talk trash, that stuff is cool. Like, when you see the three of them together, that's awesome, man. And I love the other thing that people complain about is what is the dark visions that Batman has.
Well, that's going to play into this movie.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's supposed to be a bigger part in Justice League, right?
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Like the whole thing of Superman having guards bowing to him and stuff like that. That's all part of this Justice League movie.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure that probably segues into the dark Superman suit.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but they even bring back Jared Leto as Joker in this movie. That's going to be interesting to see. And that's actual reshoot.
That's new material, right?
That's new material they shot during the pandemic.
Oh,
so we'll see what's going to happen there. I'm really excited about it. And I know a lot of people will say like, "Oh, I'm not into the superhero thing." Fine, but we should all respect and support a filmmaker who gets to just lay it out on the line. And thank God, I know a lot of people, lambast these streaming channels, but these streaming channels are going to create a situation where basically a lot of people who normally wouldn't be given chances to make films are going to be given chances to make films because it has to go 24 hours.
Right.
these streaming channels, right? Or not even just that, but just the material. They have to have so much material. So between HBO Max and Paramount, and which just said today they're going to be dropping the Mission Impossible 7 on their streaming service.
Really?
They're going to do the theater, but it's going to go straight to their streaming service, and then Disney Plus, and I mean, and obviously HBO Max. There's so much there, and there's just more and more and more channels being made. They have to fill it up with content. And so a lot of times, it used to be a handful of studios and only like 3 TV stations. And it was like, your chances of making it in Hollywood are slim. Now between, Amazon streaming and Vudu and all these other places, if you want to make a film, this is the right time to make a film because everybody needs content.
Right. And I think that there's nothing that's more exciting than when you see a director's original vision. I know some people kind of go like, oh, well, there's no point to it. I think there is. I mean, you can even look at maybe something like Alien. Maybe I'm pushing a little bit too far. maybe okay, I will say the kind of sort of original version of Alien 3. There's still things in that original version, quote unquote, that I like versus the theatrical version. So I'm really excited to see how they extend a lot of those subplots.
But even that movie has a lot of the theatrical cut of Alien 3 is in that original cut. There's only 10%, if that, in this Zack Snyder version of Justice League.
Right. Yeah, there's just
it's a completely different movie.
Right. Because I think what's his name?
Dark Side and all that. Yeah, but I mean, it's just a completely different movie, completely different story. So many new supporting characters. And like I said, I don't care. I mean, I'm not looking for it to be a masterpiece. I just need it to be better than the Justice League we got.
Right. And I want a complete story. Because I don't feel like that theatrical version is complete at all. I just feel like it feels like exactly what it is, something that's slapdash together and thrown out there. Exactly what it feels like. And Justice League, I don't know. I was always very excited about that film. The only issue I ever had with it was just the fact that it came together so quickly without building up all those characters to the crescendo. But I think people really beat up on Zack Snyder way too much. I do think he's a good director, and I agree with Cam. I just think there's some things with the script writing, some of the story, maybe bring down some of the action sequences a little bit so they're not so overwhelming. Maybe have a little bit better pace to the action sequences, and I think Zack Snyder's films will come together a little bit better. But Man of Steel is good. Batman v Superman is very, very good, in my opinion.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
There we go. Let's talk about the Snyder Cut. Let's talk about this society first. Let's talk about the society we live in. No, I'm just joking. Is anybody excited for the Snyder Cut of Justice League? All 4 hours.
Well, I liked Batman versus Superman. Didn't hate it. I do agree with some of the points that Zack Snyder can make. I loved Watchmen. Thought that was great. His Superman movie wasn't bad, so I'm not a hater of his stuff. I haven't seen the original one, so I don't know what to compare it to. My only problem is something that Cam said, and that's the streaming services. How many can I possibly justify? Right? If this is the way it's going to be, it's almost like the console wars. It's like if you don't have a PlayStation, you can't play these games. If you don't have an Xbox, you can't play these games. It's like if you don't have this streaming service, you can't watch these movies. That kind of bothers me a little bit. And also, as we've seen with some streaming services, how they lord over their content creators. And what's that going to do overall to create going forward? As far as maybe that's a big problem also with movies going forward today is creativity is being limited by certain rules that are being pushed down on people. And that to me is not exciting. So do I want to buy into a streaming service and then come to find out that everything's being tailor-made to a certain viewpoint and nobody's being allowed to create beyond that limitation? That's not going to excite me as a consumer of creative entertainment. It sounds good. It sounds like a good idea. I mean, I'm interested, but if I have to have HBO Plus or whatever it is, Max, flip it up. You know what I mean? If I have to have 17 streaming services to see every movie, I'm going to miss a lot of stuff. And I find that to be unfortunate. So above all, that was my takeaway from the video. It was a great video. Was just that I think we're now being inundated with all these streaming services, and we've seen what happened with Disney Plus. I ain't going into that stuff again, but what if that starts happening in all these places, and like they're running warnings and trigger warnings before Muppet Show episodes, and are they going to start censoring stuff that was made 30, 40 years ago because they don't think people nowadays are emotionally mature enough to handle it? Now, are they going to start going forward with modern entertainment being made with those same restrictions again? I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to see how this plays out. I mean, to answer the question directly, sure, it looks like it's going to be an improvement. Haven't seen the original, but I like what I've heard of some of the changes. But what do you guys think?
What I like about, I'm excited to see the Justice League. Yes, all 4 hours of it. But what I think
that's funny. But how long is it really? I mean, it's funny.
4 hours. It's 4 hours long.
I don't want to do anything for 4 hours.
It's 4 hours long.
And I don't think I'm physically able anymore to do one thing for 4 hours in a row anymore.
Christian, you brought that to the gutter.
An interesting show.
What I think is really cool about it, though, is that finally, for the first time in a long time, it seems like the fans are getting what they want.
Yep.
We've had so much of this not. And when I say so much, I'm really just kind of thinking about the Disney stuff. Like, we don't care what you guys want, and if you don't like what we give you and you complain about it, well, then you're toxic. So here is, granted, it took a changing of the guard at Warner Brothers and a nationwide pandemic to happen, but it's happening. The fans are getting what they've wanted for years, and I think that's kind of cool.
I think it's dangerous, though, too. Because we, again, with these big tentpole films that have to satisfy everyone, giving the fans what they want can be stifling to creativity just as easily. So we have to be very, very careful about this.
Well, but see,
I'll say there's something
ever going to happen again, though. Will this ever happen again?
I don't know, but I can tell you that there's something dangerous of the tyranny of expectations. There just is. I'd rather filmmakers be able to make the movies they want to make and not be worried about anything. This is a very specialized situation because there was a whole lot of bad actors in the original creation of the original version of Justice League. But you know what? I don't want to see it become normal for test groups, which is what this is. This was the biggest test audience ever. This had the most test audience cards filled out on Twitter of any film ever. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a specialized case, so I don't want to generalize, but I don't want to see that become normal. But I will tell you something that's great. When you went to video, it allowed me to be on top of Monty, which is sweet revenge.
Oh, Lord. So sweet.
You remember the Sonic the Hedgehog debacle, right? Where the fans were like, "Y'all need to redo all the Sonic. He looks horrible."
Here's where I don't agree with you 100%, Lauren. When you're talking about fan movies, and I'm talking about the Star Wars of the world, I'm talking about these comic book movies. These are fan movies. You're supposed to give the fans what they want. When you're talking about, I don't want to bring the whole Martin Scorsese one. These movies aren't real films. Blah blah blah. You can don't try to reinvent the wheel with a comic book movie or with a Star Wars movie. Or you're going to get what you got.
No, but Piz, you have to understand that reinventing the world is what gave you the first Star Wars. It was based on some old serials and some classic films. But everyone, when that film was greenlit at 20th Century Fox, thought that they were all committing commercial suicide. Mm. That was a big chance being taken. And I just fear that if we just keep looking to what do the audiences want, we're going to get the same damn movies over and over. And I think that's far more toxic than anything a fan can say on Twitter.
Let me put it this way. I think the fans own those movies. It doesn't matter whose name is on. It doesn't matter if the next Marvel movie is. It doesn't matter who the director is. It's a Marvel movie. The fans know what to expect from a Marvel movie, so it doesn't matter if it's a Martin Scorsese joint or if it's Bob the dentist from down the street that directs it. It's a Marvel movie.
But wouldn't you hope that something more would be possible?
Sure, but can it be possible under, you're talking about these, they're making 300, 400, 500 million dollar movies. They want,
hey, there was once upon a time a producer said, I want to make a film about a serial killer who hunts babysitters. That's not a recipe for anything great, but in the right hands, allowed to do what he wants to do.
well, that's a completely different film from a Marvel movie or a.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Marvel has to be what Marvel is. Marvel are making money right now. If that spigot turns down, not off, but down, they will change tax. I promise you. They won't follow a losing formula into the ground. But if we just keep giving an audience exactly what they expect, it's just a checklist of things that need to be done, I promise we all will get bored very quickly. And then you'll have complaints from the same people about the fact that it's all the same. I would vastly prefer Zack Snyder to be able to have his cut and them never have stepped in so we didn't have to correct.
But what Lauren's saying reminds me of Idiocracy, where the movie he goes to see is called Ass, and all it is for an hour and a half is just an ass. I mean, he's got a point. We're dumbing everything down. I'm not saying that comic books don't have good plot lines. I've never been a comic book girl, but I watched Justice League growing up, just like everybody else did after school, running home, get that cereal, sit down and watch after school cartoons. It was always part of it. I enjoy certain ones, and I didn't sit and watch Justice League from beginning to end. I did see bits and pieces of it. What I saw, I didn't really care so much about it, but I didn't think it was bad. But because I do like Zack Snyder films in general, Dawn of the Dead remake is awesome. Obviously, I love Sucker Punch, and I love Watchmen too. So I think he might. If I watch it, it's going to be because it's done by him, and I think he's going to do a good job with it. And I think that Watchmen has a deeper storyline than most other comic book stuff.
Right.
So I'm hoping that he'll put a little bit of that into his cut. And I will watch it. And I'll watch all 4 hours. I am looking forward to it. You guys talk about it so much. It's got me kind of excited to see it.
What Lauren said did make me think about something. I collect old magazines. And I was reading, I can't remember if it was Fangoria or just some general movie magazine from 1989, talking about letting filmmakers do what they want to do. Nobody wanted Tim Burton's Batman to have Michael Keaton in it back then. Nobody. And he's still one of the best, in my opinion, best Batmans ever. But Tim Burton believed in it, and then nobody screwed around with him. They let Tim Burton do it and look at it. I mean, it's still a massive movie. People love that. But I do think it's a balancing act. Like if Stallone would not make Rocky, become like a taxi driver in the next movie, and like it's all about getting his people to their destination in time with the Rocky theme playing. I think there's sometimes a balancing act like that. Stallone feels a responsibility to some of the characters that have made him famous and things he's done. So I think you could see both sides of that coin.
Right.
Because nobody liked that Last Jedi movie, right? Nobody liked it.
Well, we're coming out of a period where,
of course, you did.
We're coming out of a period where it's like the fans are the enemies. We're making these, big fan movies, but we hate our fans. And when you have like filmmakers attacking fans online for saying that they didn't like your movie, that takes it to a new level. So to see like, oh, well, wait a minute, now we're listening to the fans. Now we're kind of, that to me is cool considering where we came from.
Right.
So that's what I think is cool about getting this cut of the film, whether you're going to watch it or not. I think it's kind of cool. Maybe it'll be a changing of the guard a little bit.
Did they actually make that turn, or is it more like something Cameron said about they watched what Joss Whedon put out and nobody liked it, but they were stuck with it, so they had to put it out? And the first chance they got to maybe rectify that situation, they took it, because nobody behind the film actually liked the film.
Yeah. Well, it took a changing of the guard at Warner Brothers, and it took a pandemic for it to happen. That's why it's probably never going to happen again. But, I think it's kind of cool that the fans who've wanted this for so long, they're getting their opportunity to see it. And of course, HBO's launching their own streaming service, and they want people to subscribe. That's a big factor too.
Yeah, and the content thing is great. I mean, we need more content. That's great. But are you going to put heavy controls on what that content is? Is it going to have to measure up to a certain measuring stick? Oh, well, we can't have that on our streaming service. I went to see Men in Black and Men in Black 2 at the drive-in last night. I hadn't seen either one of those movies in over 10 years. And I was just thinking, well, that joke wouldn't fly now. Oh, that joke wouldn't fly now. And these are PG-13 comedies from the late 90s, early 2000s. And there's jokes that Will Smith is saying that wouldn't fly now.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, how ridiculous is that? So are we going to be able to get good entertainment on these streaming services, even if there is? I mean, if I'm a filmmaker, am I actually excited about making a movie and putting it on a streaming service, knowing I'm going to get an itinerary of things I can't do and rules I have to follow and checklists? I mean, because now we're going back into the mob rule conversation.
Right.
I mean, are we going to let the mob rule over what we all see as content?
Right.
And that kind of scares me. I mean, we're going to get a lot of watered down, non-entertaining content. I mean, sure, there's going to be a lot of it, but is any of it going to actually be worth watching and paying for?
Oh, well, I think we're going to see we're going to be deluged with content with all these different streaming services, and the vast majority of it's probably not going to be very good, just because they need it. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of looking forward to the Snyder Cut to see if it lives up to the hype.
It's gonna be like a 5-part review you have to do, Piz. Hour 1. It's hour 1, guys. I really like this. See you guys next time for hour 2. Tune in next time for that for hour 3.
Man, the algorithm would love that.
Yeah, they would. Yeah. Well, I'm up next, and I've actually prepared a statement for my topic. Hold on. So yes, I've prepared a statement because this is very important to me. So when it comes to our masters of horror, we celebrate their birthdays, the anniversaries of their most famous releases, and so on. I brought up Tobe Hooper's birthday recently and encouraged everyone to watch one of his films to celebrate. Today, I want to pay tribute to a lesser-known filmmaker, but a filmmaker behind two of my very favorite films. That director had a birthday just the other day. He would have been 78 years old if he were still with us. Unfortunately, he's not. That man's name is Juan Piquer Simón, a.k.a. J.P. Simon. Mr. Simon directed films such as Slugs, Pieces, The Rift, and many others. Movies that many would simply consider to be bad, but his films were bad in a masterful kind of way. Slugs, you guessed it, is about carnivorous slugs eating people in a small town. Even though the film is the editing is choppy to cut out some of the more gruesome bits, it's still quite bloody, quite silly, and incredibly entertaining. Pieces is a movie I've raved about in the past. It is a tour de force of an early 80s slasher film. The dialogue is ridiculous, and combined with the flat voice acting dubbed in just makes for some truly great moments. There's more than ample bloodshed and gore as the killer uses a chainsaw to cut people in half or behead them in the middle of campus in broad daylight. The movie's taglines, "It's exactly what you think it is," and "You don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre," are simple but brilliant summations. The movie oozes sleaze. The cast is phenomenal, including Christopher George and his lovely wife, Linda Day George, Paul Smith, and Edmund Purdom. And of course, we get this little moment here. One moment, please.
You see it?
Yes! While we were out here fumbling with that music, the lousy bastard was in there killing her! Bastard! Bastard!
I wonder how many times they made her redo that. Just to be a dick.
I love it.
I love the guy from the side.
So this weekend, sometime, watch a JP Simon film. Slugs and Pieces and The Rift are all available on Amazon Prime, and they are worth every second of your time.
And if you're like us, you probably have at least one of those films already in your collection.
Yes.
I know I do.
Yeah. So, Juan Piquer, Simón, rest in peace. You are remembered. You are loved. Your work will live on forever. Thank you.
Hopefully there's a young filmmaker out there that saw that clip and we have good stuff on the way. That's all I can hope. So that's all I can hope for.
Oozes sleaze.
Yes. Oh, man.
Because if that's on the cover of any DVD, is that an instant purchase for you?
Yes. You're talking about the movie called Ass. There needs to be a movie just called Oozes Sleaze. I'd be right there. I'd be right there. But yes, go watch a Juan Piquer Simón JP Simon film this weekend. Let's see. What do you got for us this week, Christian?
Oh, so one thing I thought would be fun to show, because I never talk about it a whole lot. I have on my channel, but before I got into Blu-ray and stuff, I'll never forget. It was one day in 2010 or 2009 or something, and I had one of those days. Yeah, you guys ever have one of those moments where you remember a weird instance in your childhood? It has no significance to anything you had going on at that moment. It's just like you have those weird thoughts of something that happened in your childhood. Well, one day I was just, I don't know what I was doing. I was just chilling in bed or whatever. And I remembered this moment where it was down in Chalmette. This was way before Katrina. I was at my friend Randy's house, and I was sitting in front of his couch because there was enough people on the couch I couldn't sit down, and he had a little nightstand next to his couch, and he had a milk carton, and I thought it was a bunch of records, and I was being nosy, and I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing Predator and, Batman, and I'm like, oh, cool. These, can we listen to these? And his mom goes, no, those are laser discs. I was like, what is that? She goes, it's just movies. And it was as simple as that. I never thought about it again. Never saw one again. And I remembered this, and I was like, let me look into that stuff because those look really cool. And I started just buying them. The first one I bought was Leprechaun 2. You can't really get much more random than that, but I guess the shirt kind of fits with that. And then I got hooked on them. They were like my vinyl. They were just so fun. And this was before, they became, I don't want to say collectible. I don't know. This is before people would just start paying exorbitant amounts of money for them because they need it now instead of just waiting to pay a regular price. But what I wanted to do with these is I wanted to show some of these because right now we live in a collection world of special edition Blu-rays and massive deluxe editions that Arrow puts out. And I wanted to show what these Laserdisc equivalents were back then because these collectors things did exist back then. So here's an example of what would be, I think, a regular Blu-ray release that we would get today. Like Piz, you just reviewed Twice Dead. No slipcover, just a nice Blu-ray release. Well, here's an example of something like that. This is a deluxe letterbox of Cyborg.
Yes.
And, this was like the best way you could watch Cyborg when this movie came out. It was a good picture, and So, and this was the first time I watched this movie was on Laserdisc. I love Cyborg, and so that's kind of like what would be like a standard Blu-ray. I remember Cameron mentioned this, so I thought I would bring it out. What's interesting about Scream is this is the director's cut. So when I first watched this, there was a scene in a gas station convenience store where they're getting something to drink in the gas station. There's some dialogue. It's nothing groundbreaking extra, except in the beginning, you get to see the boyfriend getting gutted and you see his intestines fall on the ground longer in the beginning of Scream. And then actually hold the scene on Drew Barrymore hanging a little bit longer. So this Laserdisc is still, in my opinion, the best way to watch Scream. So those are a couple editions like that. Now we get into what I would consider the slipcase if you will, versions of Laserdiscs. And the equivalent to me would be something that has a gatefold, and it's also a widescreen nice release. Right here, I have the best werewolf movie from the 80s. It's called The Howling. And this is a gatefold release from Image Entertainment, which was a really cool company. And as you can see, you open it up, and a lot of cool things about these Laserdiscs was you could learn so much. Look at all that writing. That buddy you have, Piz, that you did that show with, Michael, I forgot his name, Gingold, is that his name?
Yeah.
He would have a lot of writing to do if he was doing these Laserdiscs still to this day, because look at all that. I mean, there's so much information and pictures. And again, I watched these, and at the time when these came out, these were like the coolest way to watch these movies. This was the film fans format. This was the real deal. And I still think that Laserdisc has some releases that are, quite frankly, my favorite ways to watch some of these movies. Now, what I have here, I have a couple more I want to show, is what I would consider the chunky box Arrow releases. You get those thick Arrow cases, and you get posters, and you get the discs, and you get all this artwork and stuff. Well, here's a release I want to show for Jaws. Now, this is the Universal Signature Collection. Look how thick that is.
Oh, wow.
So, in here, and I love this, you've got the Laserdisc. And in case anybody's never seen one, I'll pull one out very delicately, because I actually still use this Laserdisc right here. It's a very nice release. This is a Laserdisc. It's a big analog disc.
Do you have to flip those over?
You do have to flip these over. And one thing I want to mention about this, and I'm not the most technical guy, I'll explain what I know. So with Laserdisc, there was two types of disc. There was a CLV disc and there's a CAV disc. Technically speaking, CAVs are supposed to have a little bit better picture and the frame rates are supposed to seem better. But they were only 30 minutes aside. So a lot of aficionados back then liked this kind of thing, and Universal, when they put this out, they made Jaws a CAV movie, so you were very busy watching this movie. You had to get up every 30 minutes and flip it. Granted, you could get Laserdisc players that could flip the reader on the device, which I have one, so I don't have to get up. And this also comes with an amazing documentary. And I'll tell you why it's amazing, Piz, because when this was made, everybody was still young enough to remember things. So the documentary is very informative in this release. And not only that, which is really cool, is look at this. When you take this out, you take out the movies, you get, of course, what would be like your little booklet that you would get in an Arrow release nowadays. And you get all kinds of cool pictures.
Beautiful.
And it's not done. Look at this. This release came with the novel, and it also came with the original CD soundtrack for Jaws.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
It's one of the coolest releases I ever bought, and I bought it for like $40.
That is incredible.
This is what you would call like the deluxe one. Now, one more I want to show, because I have more. I won't go through all these because I don't want to be here all day. This is a ridiculous set for E.T. Again, very thick, comes with the CD soundtrack as well. Very, very cool. But this one's for the horror fans. My favorite Laserdisc release I own is for Clive Barker's Hellraiser.
Wow.
Now, this, in my opinion, is still the best way to watch this film because of just how cool this release is. So this was limited to 2,500 units. That's it. And I have number 1080. So when you pull out this release, and I just want you to see the nuances on the cover. If you look close enough, you can actually see the face of the Hell Priest.
Oh,
not Pinhead, the Hell Priest. Let's get that right. So you pull this out, and again, this was thick. So we like our thick, sturdy cases back then. So again, a lovely gatefold with beautiful art on this release. And this is like the release that Clive Barker, he supervised everything on this. Back then they really got filmmakers, which they still do now. I'm not saying they don't, but we think about how great we have it now. Laserdisc gave it to you back then. It did. They gave you everything you wanted with home video back then. So you open this up and you've got this beautiful picture. And look at this, Piz. You recognize that logo right there?
I do indeed.
Anchor Bay. Again, great liner notes on here. And it's really about the making of the film. It's not just blowing smoke up your butt saying the scariest film, yada, yada. But what's so cool about this one is it comes with the script. How many releases give you the script of the film? And wait up. It's autographed by Clive Barker.
Oh,
if I can get the glare off there.
Awesome.
And I've read this, and the tone of this script is even darker, which is really interesting. And look at this. On the inside, it's lined with artwork from some of the teaser stuff, I believe.
That is sweet.
So my point to this whole thing was, Laserdisc was and still is the coolest format that ever existed. Especially if you're just a fan of just having the coolest editions possible. I'll never sell these. This is probably one of the coolest releases I own. I love this. So I just wanted to take some people down a trip to memory lane and show the equivalent to what we have today with all these everything special edition. And while I have this here, I'll just show this one. This is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, Piz, this is the reason I prepped this one is because this is like a media book or a digibook, if you will. There's so much stuff in here. I believe this shows the script with notes taken throughout the making of the film. Let me see if I can find it. First of all, look how thick this is.
Yeah.
And there's the script in here.
Yes.
It shows note changes. I mean, it's one of the most amazing releases I've ever seen. It's so gaudy. But, if a film deserves a gaudy release, it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I just wanted to show you guys the coolest format still to this day, Laserdisc, and some of the most amazing releases that they've ever put out. So there it is.
That's very cool. Very
That was
agree.
badass.
Laser was
at the time, it's like if you went to somebody's house and they had laser discs, they had money.
Yeah.
It was not cheap.
Poor people have VHS. I was one of those people.
Well, wait a second. I know that is the impression a lot of people have. Laser cost about $30 suggested retail at the time, but a new release was $30 because it was all sell through. The VHS came out at $90.
Wasn't it the players though that was really they were expensive, weren't they?
And when all new emerging technology comes out, I remember when the Betamax came out, that was like $1,000.
I know. My uncle got one.
Eventually it came down. But
right through the end of Laser as a format for new releases, Laser was actually cheaper because the rental market was where they were pricing new releases. And there was not a rental market for Laser very much. I did have a store near me that did rent Laser, but it wasn't common. And if Christian wants to show off, this actually is the 25th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead. This was the first time that you could buy Night of the Living Dead not looking like a scratched up mess.
Mm-hmm.
So this is was the very first restoration. It was first with THX Sound. It was Elite, which is the company said. That is a very rare color photograph of the cast.
Ah, cool.
Yes.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I've got that one too, man. It's still the way I watch the movie.
It's amazing. And I think my Laserdisc player does pretty well upconverting. It doesn't upconvert, but the television upconverts from its picture, but it's stable enough that it is not up to Blu-ray quality on screen. It's not. But you want to know what? It's very, very, very respectable.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I was just going to say, I think that too often we are blinded by nostalgia, but this is one place where I think our nostalgia should be a whole lot more placed.
How long was Laserdisc a thing? It seemed, to my memory, it's like a blip and it's gone. Because
it's not.
It's not.
A
20 plus years.
Really? 20 years?
Wow. 20 plus. A little bit longer. A little bit longer overseas.
I thought it was like 10. Really?
No.
Wow.
It's mid 80s, depending on. I hear 84 thrown around a lot. CED was its main competition. They got to think about that.
Yeah.
Like I had a buddy, and like he spent a bunch of money on a player and a bunch of discs, and then literally like a week later, he was like, "Yep, it's over. They're out of print. It's gone." He's like,
But you know what? The first batch of DVDs that came out, because I was an early converter to DVD as well, the lasers looked way better than that first group of DVDs that came out. Absolutely. Yeah. As far as the stability of the picture, the quality of the grayscale, the vertical motion was big. I don't know if everyone remembers this, but whenever you had a vertical a scene shot that had vertical motion in it, they would pixelate all to hell on early DVDs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something you could fix in settings either. It was just, that's what the encoding was, because the format didn't have any standards to it yet. But laser was always from day one produced to very high quality. Now, the only bad news is there was releases that were just the VHS prints on Laserdisc.
Friday the 13th Laserdisc, pretty much all.
Almost the entire Paramount line except for The Godfather. Yeah.
And Piz, another thing to mention about Laserdisc, everything that we love and still use without even thinking about it started here. Scene selection, audio commentaries. You would take your remote. There was no menu screen. You would take your remote and you would click audio and it would switch to a different channel. I have a Texas Chainsaw Laserdisc, which was, I believe it was Elite.
It was. Where
it actually enhances some of the music. It's not isolated per se, because we know that they don't exist anymore. But you could hear the music the best. I don't know if that was ever done again on a release. If it could be, I'm not sure. But that Laserdisc release was monumental for that film in 1996. So.
Yeah, because the dialogue didn't bleed into the soundtrack.
But you both have some very nice lasers, but I'm about to one up you all here. Hold on. Bam!
Yeah. oh, please. Oh, please, Pizzy.
Bam!
You know I got that.
The old school art.
That is literally the VHS print on Laserdisc.
It does not look good. It does not look
Fucking
good.
Roy, what the hell?
The best looking you know,
well, they didn't decay. That was the good thing.
Yeah, you will get. My part 2 has horrible laser rot. It does not look good. The best looking one that I own is the Jason Lives one. I don't know if it just got a better cut or from whatever, but my part 6 is the best looking Laserdisc. But I do not watch my Laserdiscs ever.
What's
why would I?
So
what is that?
A disc is what you're looking at is two pieces of plastic basically that are glued together. That glue doesn't last forever, and it's not like they come completely apart, but the disc itself becomes slightly uneven, and the laser cannot actually run in the groove properly, so it causes lots of screen distortion. I have 2 discs. Mine, Night of the Creeps, has laser rot, but I did buy that used way after the fact, and I know I have another. It might be the Final Damnation concert video that has laser, but I still have a decent sized collection of laser, and very few of them have had a problem. But if you didn't experience laser in its day, right, it was unbelievable. Like, people didn't believe it existed. It was like some kind of sorcery when you'd put a movie on. I remember showing Jaws. It wasn't the copy that Christian has. It was the standard release, but just clean. It was so cleaned up from what people were used to seeing Jaws. It was like now seeing a 4K version, right? Because you'd be like, oh my God, the details. Well, if all you'd ever seen is television and VHS, you saw that laser and you were like, oh, oh, it was a big deal. Huge deal.
To put it in perspective, Piz, how long Laserdisc actually lasted, I have the Blair Witch Project on Laserdisc.
Oh, wow.
I love that movie.
And a Japanese Scream 3.
Now,
because I said it lasts a little bit longer in Japan.
Blair Witch, that's like at the end of the Laserdisc era, right?
Yes.
Very end of America, yeah.
Because I worked at Blockbuster back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we sold laser discs and stuff out of there, but I mean they phased them out pretty quickly. I felt like it was like a blink of an eye and they were gone. And I only had one friend who ever had a laser disc player or ever got laser discs, so I only ever saw one movie on that, and I can't even remember what it was now. So I don't know.
Everybody's got that one person they knew that had a Laserdisc player, but it was never like everybody had VHS.
Yeah.
Everybody had DVD. You know, they didn't get the market saturation, but you would watch like Siskel and Ebert do their Christmas gift ideas, and they were always championing Laserdisc as the best way for home video, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. But you know, I didn't make the money they made. Hell, I was a young guy, so I was like, well, that's what they watch. This is what I watch, you know. And I was okay with that, but I remember it being a thing and being very, you know, it was the champagne, but I had the beer budget, you know. I do remember being highly touted, and it's great to see those collections.
Yeah,
I mean that Jaws collection. I've had all those things individually, but never all in one release like that. That's great.
And you know what's oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I interrupted. Well, I was just going to say, you know what's really awesome is that you guys are preserving history by having that collection, by having these collections. You're preserving history for everybody else, which I think is fascinating and awesome of you guys to do.
This is what Laserdisc beat out, Piz. This is a record in here, the CED format.
It's a vinyl format, yeah.
That is freaking beautiful.
Played with a stylus.
Yeah, I took apart my player broke, but I took apart my player to watch it work in action, and it's you'd be shocked.
Oh, that is beautiful.
So these are really cool. I love these formats. I'm semi-retired with Laserdisc because fortunately I collected for a solid 8 years before the money got really crazy. And, you know, and I think this died around 85, 86. So, you know, these look horrible. It's unwatchable how bad they were. So, and I think part 5 was the last one to get a CED. 85 was like the last year where Back to the Future got a CED, Gremlins got a CED, but I think The New Beginning was the last one to get a CED. So just these are cool, but they're ugly. They are not fun to watch.
God, I barely remember those. Those were like the 8 tracks.
Yeah.
Of movies where you slide the whole plastic thing into the player type of thing, and then it would play.
Speaking of 8 tracks, where'd that one?
Here we go. Everybody's pointing out.
So VHD was a Japanese format that competed with CED. Wow. So this is also a vinyl format that was played with a stylus, but it basically looks a lot like a giant floppy disk because that's not all that different than what it is. You place the caddy in the player. If you remove the caddy, just the disc would remain inside, and when you needed to retract it, you'd put it back in.
Mm-hmm.
Lasted a little bit longer than here's the rarest piece of media I own. This is actually a music video for Dave Kaw's song, but this is This is the broadcast format, friends. When you watch television all your life, this is what you were watching off of.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Wow, it's crazy.
Pretty cool stuff, huh? Who's got a mini disc? Who's got mini
Well,
disc? Come on,
hold
Piz.
on. I hate to show you. I hate to show you guys up again, but here we go.
Here we go.
Bam!
Okay, wait. And who sent that to you, Piz?
Danny Steinman.
That wouldn't be true.
Oh, I love those still pictures.
But Piz, how great is that artwork? Look at all. That's the thing about Laserdisc and all these big formats. They gave you so much artwork to look at, especially on the back.
Woo!
You know?
It really is like a big, floppy disk. I mean,
send me your floppy.
It's an Apple disc.
Send me your floppy.
Now, VHD, incidentally, the format that Piz is showing off right now, did have 3D releases. So Friday the 13th Part 3 was available on VHD in Japan in 3D as field sequential 3D. Amityville 3D was available. Jaws 3D was available. Parasite was available, but from all reports, it didn't work.
But Lauren was nice enough to send this to me.
I think he was very
Aw.
happy to get that off of his hands. Let's be fair.
So I know we're not talking about the music, but I'm cleaning my house out because I'm remodeling, and we were cleaning in the basement, and we come across this.
Kiss
Alive.
It.
Oh,
This is Kiss Alive.
That's
Very
on
nice.
8-track.
Wow.
Which I was like blown away that was just sitting in my basement, just sitting down there on a shelf. And
Very
it must
nice.
have been my in-laws because they used to live in this house. So I assume it's theirs. I could give it back to them, but I think I'll keep it. It's cool.
Well, we've been talking about all this, the old formats, the old media. Let's check in with my buddy Garrett and find out what's coming up on Blu-ray.
Rad report. Rad report. Rad report.
What's up, everybody? Garrett back here, and I'm interrupting your regularly scheduled program to bring you this new edition of the Rad Report, where I will go through some physical media news and new releases that I recommend that are coming out in the next couple weeks. All right, the first one is going to be Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater hitting Blu-ray this week, along with the 5-movie pack from John Hughes, where we finally get an upgrade of some kind of wonderful. We have a Blu-ray of the Wrong Turn remake coming out this week. I haven't seen much about this, but it might be worth checking out. We also have Arrow releasing another edition of An American Werewolf in London, this time on a limited edition steelbook, limited to 500 units. Scream Factory announced their limited edition with 2 titles, maybe 3 titles. We have Twice Dead, we have Terror Within 1 and 2 coming out on Blu-ray next week. And Vinegar Syndrome hit us up with their February release on Blu-ray, which is Hitcher in the Dark and The Fear. All right, those are the new releases coming out with the next couple weeks that I recommend. And now on to the news. The big news I want to talk about this week is going to be the announcement from Criterion that they were going to be putting out another Blu-ray of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yes, we already have had a Blu-ray of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but this is going to include a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and it's also going to include the television cut of that movie that's been highly sought after for years, and it finally is going to see the light of day on physical media. All new scenes, great stuff in that version. That is a day one buy for me. So thank you guys again. This is Garrett at Born to Be Rad, and now go enjoy the rest of Region Free.
All right, thank you, Garrett, for the news. Thank you. Very kind of you, sir. Some nice titles in there to keep your eyes on. So, all right. I think we've Monty, are you all right?
I was just saying, I'm very jealous of his room.
He's got a very
I'm extremely jealous. I almost melted there when I saw that room. That's too much 80s-ness for me. Good God, it's awesome. Jeez.
He's got a nice layout there, man.
That is awesome.
No doubt about it. Yes. Thank you, Garrett. Born to Be Rad YouTube channel. Go check him out. Very, very nice guy. Been a friend of mine for many, many years. Thank you, Toronto Freddy, for the $5 Canadian super chat. Piz, can you show that Siskel and Ebert Friday 2 edit from last night? Oh my God.
That was hilarious.
That was so funny.
That was, oh man, I was rolling.
I've got it clipped, and I'm going to upload it tomorrow. Just a standalone video of me reacting to their reviews. Oh my God. I can't even think about it. I'm going to start laughing. That was so good. God. Whoever edited that together was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
But that will be out tomorrow. Toronto Freddy, I promise. And geez, that was good stuff. But let's go around the room here and let's see. Jamie, I know you just recently hit 200 subscribers on your YouTube channel.
Yep, I just did this last week, and yesterday we had a little celebration stream. Lauren joined me and a few others, and we had a good time. And I really thank you, everybody who's subbed to me so far. I really appreciate it very much. So I don't know what you want to listen to me talk for, but okay. But thank you. Yeah. So go sub to my channel. I'm going to be getting going really, really quickly now.
What's going on over on your channel, Monty?
Oh, same old, same old. I'm kind of experimenting with some videos a little bit more, trying to do specific videos about greatest fight scenes of all time, greatest corrupt cop movie villains of all time. Of course, doing some more Arnold movies as usual because I love that stuff, and doing some more surprise movie reviews that I always like to pop up on my channel. Just having fun over there.
Cool. What's going on over on your channel, Christian?
A lot of stuff. Just remodeled the horror room, completely changed everything in here. It's a lot more simpler, and did a tour of that, doing random movie reviews. I haven't uploaded it yet. I just finished re-interviewing Darren Miller, who was the singer for CKY, who I incidentally found out is the husband of Felissa Rose, and they met on the set of Return to Sleepaway Camp. So we talk about his new band 96 Bitter Beings, but we talk mostly about horror, and the one I'm going to upload soon is him showing his Halloween vinyl collection, and he has all kinds of stuff. Turkish Halloween 2s, German this, German that, and we just mark out for horror and talk about all that kind of stuff. So I got that coming, and just a lot of rankings and lists and just fun horror stuff. So staying busy over there.
Cool. What about you, Lauren? What's going on over on your channel?
Monday, I have Jean Cavellos in for a talk. She was the editor of the Del Abyss line in the early 1990s. Launched a lot of stellar writers' careers like Brian Hodge and Kathy Koja and Mike Arnzen. Just a tremendously important person that, unfortunately, because editors aren't exactly on the front lines of media, don't get the credit they deserve. So we're going to try and fix that. So that's a celebration of Jean Cavellos Monday at 8. And then on Friday, I'll be joined by Mark Allen Gunnels, who will talk about his writing career. Gunnels is one of the most edgy modern writers out there, and definitely worth a lot of people paying attention because, we talk a lot about movies and we forget that they all start on a page too. So the storytellers are still the unsung heroes. So I'm trying to give as much of a platform to the people I admire for their storytelling as humanly possible.
Mike, what are the odds of you starting a new channel and getting some content?
I'm still working with the same potato PC I've had since the beginning of the factory. There's a 2012 model.
Okay.
I'm surprised it still runs. It's like the Model T of computers. No upgrades. Same, just as I bought it. So I'm trying to get some cash together to upgrade my computer situation. I got a project I'm working in the background, but the computer is definitely an element that needs to be upgraded, and I need a few other elements. So right now I'm just trying to save back my loose change and my pennies and cut from the budget where I can to get the things I need to move forward. But I found a cheap way for me to consume some things. Like I said last night, I went to a drive-in not far from my house, which is really cool. Literally like 6 minutes and I'm there. It's fucking awesome.
Cool.
I saw the double feature Men in Black 2. Going back next week for a double feature of E.T. and Jaws.
Wow.
Awesome.
So and I really enjoyed it. It's a great experience. I mean, this we have 7 drive-ins active in Florida, and this is one of 7. And it's 70 years old.
That's awesome.
It's like stepping back in the past, and it's just like a great way to enjoy a flick. I mean, it's updated in all the ways you would want it to be. Picture quality, you can listen to the sound through your stereo. I mean, you got all the modern conveniences of the picture and the sound quality, but you still have the aesthetic, the old school. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how many times it's been recovered, but those screens are 70 years old. I'm sure they've had to have been, revitalized every once in a while, especially when they put in the digital stuff. But I mean, they're showing 35 millimeter prints right now. And these are like the D special. I'm hoping that the ET I see next week has guns instead of flashlights.
Oh, God.
Because there was a whole thing that went on there, no thanks to George Lucas, where everything had to be specialized and changed. And that was kind of the beginning of where we're at now. I mean, I don't think it's too much of a stretch that, the authorities would show up to an alien invasion armed to the teeth, not knowing what to expect, regardless if children are involved or not, because it could be the thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You don't know it's going to be a little cute guy with a light up finger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be alien. It could be predator. You don't know. So the appropriate measure is to quarantine and lock down the area. So having guns, I don't know why that's so scary. That's just kind of like reality. But anyway, I'm hoping I get the good cut of E.T., even though I know it'd probably terrify Raiho. That'd probably be his ultimate double feature of horror.
If I saw a creepy little alien like that come at me with a light up finger that looked like that, he's catching some bullets. You know what I mean?
I don't know where he wants to stick that finger.
I don't know where
that would have been
goes.
such a better film than what we got. It's not funny. His blowing ET away is what I want to see instead.
He's catching some lead from me for sure, man. Or at least I'm going to be beating him with that mag light to death.
Oh, that's even better. Are you kidding?
I'm looking forward to
that little bastard.
I'm just trying to have some fun, go out and enjoy what I can enjoy. And I think that's just what everybody should do. Just be happy with what you got, be happy with what you can do, enjoy it, and live every day like it's your last one, because you never know when it might be. But as soon as I get these elements upgraded, I'll start producing some more stuff. And I got some ideas, but right now it's still in the future, but it's coming.
Cool. Let me give some shout outs here before we call it a night. Thank you, Nico, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, the Daily Ghost, for the $5 super chat. Nico with another $5 super chat. This is for the buzz I got from Christian's show and tell. Wow. And Toronto Freddy, thank you for the $5 Canadian super chat. Very kind of you all. Let's see who is still with us. We've got the Cornelius Collection, Lopke Vision Films, the Daily Ghost, Sean McManus, Dan Shine. Let's see, Toronto Freddy is still here. Sir Gregor. Hello, Sir Gregor. Silent Storm 60, Rick Plamondon.
Sorry.
Jess Graham, Matt, Brian Trash, Darren Hay. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Again, check out our Patreon. That link is in the description. And we will be back very soon. So thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week. Go watch a Juan Piquer Simon film. Pieces preferably, but also follow that up with Slugs. Definitely worth your time. So have a great one. Take care, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.